Hello, everybody. Good evening and good day, and welcome back to the Ask Abhijit show. Today, we discuss anything and everything, any topic that you want. If you want to ask me a question, ask me, and I shall answer, as long as it's a topic that I know something about. So, before we start with the Q and A for today, for tonight, let us see who all is there on the live chat. I can see Pulkit Chauhan. Pulkit Chauhan is here. Kavya Chef is also here. Parthenon 007. Kavya Chef, UMXG, LOL, HA, haha, Parthenon, Putin 444, Rahul Dunake, Mary Kane, good to see you, ma'am, Mary Kane, Monish Sabrinath, Riser 199, Putin the 444, Gajapati Dev, Jagannath from Odisha, Geopolitical Dubey is here from Indore, good to see you, Shiva Sai, Monish Sabrinath, Shat, Shatabish, Advait Ashwini, the Strummer, Anonymous R7U5T, Real Painter, Arc back to you. Sri Hari Arjun, Srishti Siliguri, namaste. Sri Hari Arjun once again, Nabanita Das, namaste. Omkar Kumbar, Real Painter, Eventide indeed. Abhishek Shukla live, Dhairya Lavanya from Jaipur, namaskar. Vidhi Manyar Sar, good to see you, ma'am. Ameyatul Pule, Guten Abend aus Deutschland. Well, Guten Abend back to you. Vikash PJ, Chaitanya Manuja, Annie 24862, hello. Hindutva Matrix has reposted the stream. Thank you very much. On X. G Karthikeyan, Mahita Bushati, hello. Random Skull, hi. Mac4, namaste. Raghuveer Solanki, Dhairya Lavanya from Jaipur, yes. Kenel, Alok Bhatt, Daksh, Abhishek Shukla live, Vikash PJ, Rahul Himtani from Mumbai, namaste. Sri Hari Arun once again. McLevin, good to see you, McLevin. Apurva Aditya Jha, hello. Tejas Madi, hello. Siddiq Shetty, hi. Kedar Parab, Mahita Bhushati, Om Namah Shivaya. Amisha Mishra, hello. Good to see you, ma'am. Chaitanya once again. Gajapati Deva from Odisha. Dhairya Lavanya. Okay, I think we're repeating a few of these names. Who else? Kenel, Vikash PJ, Advat Ashwini, and everyone else. Hiten Bora, History Go, Vignesh Kohli, Nirvana Shanks, Konichiwa, Sagar Ghare, Priyanka Javalia, good evening. Priyanka ji has set the an alarm at 8 p.m. Thank you very much. Manish Hanse, Nirvana Shanks once again, and everyone else. Okay. Let's take some questions. What questions do we have today, this fine evening? What questions do we have? Let us see. First of all, Kavya Chef has become a member, a new member. Thank you very much, Kavya Chef. Welcome to the membership of the channel. That is very kind of you. Thank you very much. Parthenon says, what's this? Than original followers? Second question. Okay, maybe it's a mix-up of two questions. I asked this too late yesterday. Okay, why are Amish people living like 12th century today in 2025? Who are the Amish people is the question that we have to address first of all. The Amish people are a very conservative, group of people who live in the United States. What part of the United States escapes me? Let us quickly Google that. See, the Amish people, they're originally Swiss German, most likely. Okay. And they practice Baptist or Anabaptist Christianity. Anabaptist Christianity, whatever that means. I am not an expert in that. So they practice a certain form or flavor or variant of Christianity. And because of the form of Christianity they practice, they are very conservative. Their values are super conservative. They wear very plain dresses. They educate their children up to the 8th standard, nothing more than that. They do not use motorized vehicles. They use horse-drawn buggies. They marry young. And they have all these, what you could say, kind of antiquated ways of life. Their way of life is quite, you could say, antiquated. It's like 19th or 18th century way of life, that sort of thing. Where do the Amish people live? That's an interesting point that we should look into. Amish people. Amish people, where do they live? What part of the United States? Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. So yeah, this is gonna give us a good uh, representation of where the Amish people live. So they kind of spread out across the mostly the northern and eastern parts of the United States, but obviously there are some of them in other parts as well. And as you can see, they dress very conservatively. It looks like this is a set from a period movie, that sort of thing. They have these horse-drawn buggies or carriages, and children, as you can see, I mean, you can't see from here, but they are educated until I think the eighth standard. um, the dresses are very plain, very simple. They believe in having large families. I'm not sure if this is very Amish, but okay. This is definitely Amish. Kids are often barefoot, which is not a bad thing. Yeah. um, and so on. As you can see, this is the kind of lifestyle they have. It's a pretty interesting, maybe slightly anachronistic lifestyle. So why do they live in this manner? It's because of their belief system. Anabaptist Christianity. Let's find out what that is. Anabaptist. Anabaptist. Anabaptist meaning. What does it mean? Radical reformers during the 16th century Protestant revolution who believed baptism could be only for consenting adult believers, not infants. Strict biblical interpretation, separation of church and state, pacifism, communal living. Yeah, so all of these values are, embodied in the Amish lifestyle. So it's Protestantism. They are Protestants, Protestant Reformation. So they seem to be similar to the Huguenots, the Calvinists, kind of, maybe. Origin began in Switzerland and Germany around 1525 with leaders like Konrad Grebel, etc. So the answer to your question is they have this kind of lifestyle because of their belief system, the kind of beliefs they have. Very literal and very strict interpretation of the Bible, and so on. Parthenon says, why are converted people of Abrahamic faith more religious? See, when you convert to a different faith, let's say you're born into so and so religion or culture or civilization, and then you decide for whatever reason to convert to a different, let's say a foreign religion, then when you convert willingly or maybe unwillingly, whatever, to a foreign religion, if you convert willingly, then you do it with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, right? It's something new, and you believe it's a better way of living. So that's why you are very zealous about practicing all the tenets and whatever of this new religion, probably the Abrahamic religions. Because in Eastern religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, the Dharmic religions, even Shinto in Japan, Tengrism, what they call Tengrism in Mongolia, and so on, there's no conversion. There's no system of conversion. You want to believe it, you believe it. You want to live that lifestyle, you live that lifestyle. But there's no pressure to convert into or convert out of the thing. The Abrahamic religions are very strict, and if you convert to that, you're gonna be very zealous in the way you uh, you know live your life. And if you've been forced to convert, then those who have forced you to convert, are going to ensure that you stick to the tenets and precepts of the religion extra carefully and extra strictly. Otherwise, well, you may not want to do the otherwise thing. So that's why, yeah. And the Abrahamic religions are pretty, their lifestyle is often non-negotiable. And if you don't do that, then you may have the Inquisition that is dumped upon your head. That happened in the last 500 years, and in certain other religions, it's something nastier than the Inquisition could happen. So because of these reasons, people who belong to who convert to Abrahamic faiths are typically more religious than people who are born into these faiths. The Nvidia CEO says UMXG lol haha. The Nvidia CEO stated that the Linux kernel is unsafe. Is this based on genuine security concerns or influenced by limited support for open source? I'm not sure. I have not looked into this. I was not even aware that Jensen Huang has said that the Linux kernel is unsafe. Did he say that? Okay, let's see. Jensen Huang Linux unsafe. Why does the blah blah blah? Neither Jensen Huang nor Nvidia have stated that Linux is inherently unsafe. Okay, that's what the AI says. But do we have any news? Nvidia CEO Anthrop? No, that's different. Nvidia's okay. First of all, when you say Nvidia CEO, are we talking about Jensen Huang or is it somebody else? Yeah, he's the CEO. So looks like he hasn't said such a thing. Let's go into the news portion. Google blah blah. AI taking jobs. Nope. Doesn't look like he has said any such thing. And even if he has said this, I am not aware of what is the reason in case he has said that. But as far as I can see, that hasn't happened. So UMXG lol haha says thoughts on Neera Arya. Who is Neera Arya? I don't know who Neera Arya is. Is it an entertainer? Is it some historian? Is it a scientist? Is it an entrepreneur? Let's find out who is Neera Arya. Neera Arya, who is it? The first woman spy, etc. Well, I'm not aware of this person. Yeah, okay, I must have seen this lady's photo. This is obviously all. Okay, this lady. So I'm not aware of her life story and career and all, so I don't have any thoughts about her. Sorry. UMXG Lolha says Thailand army destroys Hindu state deity thoughts. Unfortunate. I mean, I've seen that video of a bulldozer bringing what it was, a statue of which god? I'm not sure which god it was, but why do that? I mean, maybe the Cambodians built the statue, but the god is part of the shared culture between Thailand and Cambodia. Why do they have to destroy it? I'm not sure. So I think it's terribly unfortunate. I mean, there's no need to do that. Polaroidism says all lot of foreign powers in Bangladesh. Example MI6 CIA. Is there a question here? Is there a comment? Obviously, you've had a regime change that's happened in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is now East Pakistan, and the orchestrator of the regime change is obviously the United States of America. And if you are the US, you would also do such things to promote and safeguard your interests in various parts of the world. So that's why they've done this. And it would not be MI6. MI6. What is MI6? MI6 is the British spy agency, right? I'm sure they still are quite capable. I'm sure they have a few 007 agents or whatever, but it would be the CIA, not the MI6, mostly, that's involved in these matters. MI6 is now a junior agency compared to the CIA. UMXG lol haha says ex-Supreme Court Judge Katu says all ministers are rogues and rascals. Thought on this? I have no thoughts on ex-judges. Sorry. I don't discuss internal matters in India. I discuss history, geopolitics, science. I stay outside of India. I don't discuss Indian politics, Indian judiciary, Indian this, that, thoughts on this person. Sorry. No comments about judges. Not my cup of tea. I'm not talking about these things. All right. Parthenon says, how did Arabs and Turks get rid of black slaves? That's number one. Second, why didn't Confederates do the same or worse when they knew that they were going to lose? Okay, let's first talk about the Arabs and Turks, black slaves. What did the Arabs and Turks do to black slaves? They castrated them. They would see when it comes to black slaves, they would typically enslave black men. I'm not aware of black women, African origin women being enslaved. As far as I know, that would not have been a very common practice. They typically enslaved African origin men. And those men were typically castrated so that they would not pass on their genetics, their DNA to future generations. That's what they did to African origin or black male slaves. So they probably enslaved hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of African origin black, male slaves. None of those have been able to pass on their genetics. They were castrated, used for labor, and then they would die off at whatever age. That's what happened. Now the second question is, why didn't Confederates do the same or worse? To whom? To whom? When they knew they were going to lose? To slaves. Why would you do that? I'm not sure I follow the logic. So the Confederates are about to lose the Civil War. Okay. So when you're losing, what should you do? Should you just kill off the slaves? I don't get it. I'm not sure what the logic is. So if I am the Confederate, I'm fighting a war because I want slavery. Now I'm losing the war and I'm about to lose. So should I go and kill all the slaves? What will I gain from that? I don't get it. So Monish Sabarinath says, Pranam. Well, Pranam ji. Pranam back to you. Thank you. Monish Sabarinath says, in ancient Gurukuls, how was bullying prevented? I have absolutely no idea. But typically, the Gurukuls were run by the gurus, and the gurus would ensure that there would be Shishtachar in the Gurukul. See, bullying happens when children are typically unsupervised. So in today's classrooms, you have 50 students, 70, 80, 100 students sometimes. And there's one teacher for this entire bunch of kids. And I'm talking about the Indian education system, the stupidly rotten Indian education system. So when you have this situation, a lot of the time the students will be unsupervised. There'll be too many students, too few teachers, and there'll be periods. There'll be times when there's a break between classes or lectures or periods, like they say, or there could be the intermission or recreation, lunch break, whatever it's called, recess. That's once again when the kids are outside. So when you have so many kids, with so many students, you're going to have some of the, there's a certain percentage of every population that has these tendencies. So that's why you will have bullying. But in the Gurukuls, the number of students was limited because you had so many Gurukuls across India. And the person who was the guru would know how to control children, and they would impart the right values. That's why most likely bullying would never have happened in Gurukul. See, bullying is an antisocial activity. It's an uncultured, uncivilized activity. You cannot expect that to happen in Gurukuls. If any student behaved that way, they would face consequences. So, yeah, we have lost the records of the past, but that's what I imagine would have happened. Okay. Parthenon says, in 1865, why didn't the USA ban guns to prevent civil wars? It's part of the Constitution. Okay, let's look into this, okay? US Constitution, gun rights. So, Second Amendment. The US Constitution's Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. So it's part of the US Constitution. And I'm sure it's not that easy to amend. How many US Constitution, how many amendments? How many amendments? 27. In the Indian Constitution since 1945, how many amendments? I don't even know. Indian Constitution, let's find out. 106 amendments. The Indian Constitution is like a patchwork thing. The US Constitution, if amendments are a very serious thing. So it's part of US culture. It's part of what the United States is. You don't do that. So, that's why I suppose it would be very difficult. I'm not sure what the process or procedure is to amend the Constitution, but I suppose you would need a lot of support from the various political factions and all. And I'm sure it was not that easy. And nobody ever thought about it because it's part of the American ethos, gun rights, the right to bear arms. That is an unalienable part of American culture. Not possible to just ban it. Who decides to ban it? Who decides that? Who dares to do that? Monish Sabrinath says, the university where I'm studying, there are many students who are doing smoking, drinking, and many other bad things, all other bad things, sadly younger batches. Is it due to a lack of discipline? Seeing many horrible cases makes me upset daily. Why do you see this? Why does this happen? Well, when I was a student, there were students who were doing the same things. I suppose 30 years before I was a student, I suppose many students would have been doing similar things. See, the first thing we have to understand, these things aren't illegal, right? Smoking and drinking neither smoking nor drinking is illegal in most parts of the country. I don't think there's any state in India where smoking is illegal. Drinking is illegal in a few states here and there. But even in those states, we know how things go. And smoking, drinking, alcohol and tobacco are reasonably readily, not reasonably, they're plentifully available legally. And they don't cost a lot. Alcohol can cost a lot, or it can be really cheap. and these days, people have more disposable income. So I suppose that's one of the reasons why. And young people have always had this desire to kind of experiment with things, and try and test the boundaries of what is acceptable, what is not. People want to try new things when they are new adults, they've newly become adult or whatever. So that's that could be a contributing factor. And of course, there are plenty of people who will never touch alcohol or tobacco, and that's great, and that's ideally how everyone should be. So it depends on your values, your upbringing, your personality, and so on. I would say, look, as far as people don't do hard drugs, it's all right, I suppose. Hard drugs obviously can be very dangerous, very damaging. Ideally, nobody should do these things, but that's just how it is. So is it due to a lack of discipline? Is it due to something else? It's due to a variety of factors. And there's nothing we can do to prevent it unless the government decides to ban all these things, which would not be a very popular move. Yeah. Because historically, even if you look at Indian history, alcohol has been a thing. People have smoked, not tobacco. Tobacco comes from the Americas, but people would smoke marijuana on Shivratri and all. So these things have kind of been part of our history. And it's just what it is. Okay, Shatabhish says, your thoughts on Andromeda paradox as a consequence of special relativity might be an aspect of reality being a simulation, as now itself isn't universal. Andromeda paradox. What is the Andromeda paradox? Andromeda paradox. What is that? Let's find out. Andromeda paradox. Okay, Sabina has done a video on this. Okay, let's find out. What is the Andromeda paradox? Andromeda, can you blah 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 blah. Not sure what this is. Let's go back and see special relativity. What is the? Oh, that's the same one. Okay. Okay, Wolfram demonstrations project. What is this? It doesn't have a description. Mandai Supreme Galactic Council. Blah. Do we have a description of what this is somewhere? I'm not watching a video right now. Okay, maybe this. No. Okay. It's a thought experiment proposed by philosopher Roger Penrose based on Einstein. Okay, so special relativity, one of the most mind-bending paradoxes. It's not a physical. Consider two people, Alice, of course, Alice and Bob, standing on Earth. They are trying to determine if a major event, for example, an alien invasion, is happening right now on the Andromeda galaxy, which is about 2.5 million light years away. According to special relativity, the concept of simultaneity is not universal. We know that. Okay. So Alice is standing still and defines the plane of simultaneity that says the Andromeda invasion is happening right now. Bob is walking briskly away from Alice at a mere few hundred miles per hour, small non-relativistic speed, and so on and so forth. Conclusion: the tilt is enough to make Bob's present. Okay, what's the big deal? If the invasion is fixed, cause the invasion to okay. Listen, I'm not gonna go through the details right now and do all that. What's the question? My thoughts. Well, I haven't studied this. People come up with different ways of testing special relativity, and bringing out interesting aspects of it and so on. So I haven't studied this specific paradox. We know the twin paradox. We know the grandfather paradox and so on. I haven't looked into this. It will take me some time to read. So let's keep moving on. But see, is this an aspect of reality being a simulation as now? No, it's not. No. It's just encoded in special relativity. For any two observers, what is now may not be the same. Simultaneity itself is relative. So that's all part of special relativity. There's no that doesn't indicate that we are living in a simulation. Not at all. Okay, Monish Sabrinath says, I'm seeing people from a batch and also in junior batches go into relationships, do all the things, and leave. Why do these people take these aspects of life casually and tag the rest as losers who don't do these things? I don't know. I don't care. I don't think this is a good way to live. I don't think, animals live in this manner. For some people, you may feel like, you are great if you have like 15 different girlfriends over a period of 2 years or whatever. And similarly for girls, it's like conquest. It's not conquest. You're cheapening yourself. Maybe it indicates that you are physically attractive and so on. But at the end of the day, what's the point of all this? So I am not a fan of this sort of lifestyle. Why do they do it? There may be various reasons for that. Maybe it's insecurity. Maybe it's a desire to prove that I'm so great and I can get any kind of person and so on. Whatever it is, it stems from some form of insecurity deep within you. And people who are insecure, they overcompensate in a variety of ways. In the long run, I don't think it's good for you. I think it's damaging for you. Not just for you. It may not be damaging for you physically, but it will be damaging for you deep inside, at the level of the soul, I would say. So my point is, I don't want to get into why do people behave in such manner. That's their problem. I would recommend don't do these things. One of the greatest qualities that a person can have is standards. And one of the aspects of having high standards is to be loyal to one person. That is one of the foundational pillars of civilized life, of civilization itself. So yeah, that's what I can say. Ritik Pawar says, why are coups rare these days? Well, in 2022, you had a coup in West Pakistan. Imran Khan was ousted, and this fellow, Shahbaz Sharif, was parachuted into position. He is a puppet. In 2024, 9 months after I predicted that, there was a coup in East Pakistan, in Bangladesh. And Sheikh Hasina was ousted, and Bangladesh has now been transformed into East Pakistan. Are coups really rare these days? There have been coups in Africa, right? In Niger, Burkina Faso. It's not like coups are rare. It's like coups do happen, but they kind of stay under the radar. And often the media portrays these coups as democratic transitions and Gen Z revolution and whatnot. There's been a coup in Nepal also. So coups aren't rare. And military coups are more frequent, less rare in Africa. In East Pakistan, West Pakistan, these have been military coups, by the way. Sheikh Hasina was given an ultimatum of 45 minutes. Leave in 45 minutes, leave the country in 45 minutes, or else. Who gave that ultimatum? Was it the so-called student leaders? No, it was the Bangladeshi military. So please understand that at the root of everything is the military. Okay, Ganapati says, what do you think about YT people, YouTube people cosplaying as Hindus, trying to portray Jesus as Hindu god? FYI, YT is white. What do I think about white people cosplaying as Hindus, trying to portray Jesus as a Hindu god? There are plenty of people who do that. And a lot of Indians get fooled by these people. There are some accounts on Twitter, some people, some persons, often female, because it works, who have on X, on Twitter, on the header image, there's an image of a Hindu god and Jesus together. And that lady says that Jesus is the same as a Hindu god and so on. And lots of people are following this lady. And there is another person on Twitter who even I was following until so these people, their objective is to fool Hindus. And by fooling Hindus, they want to subliminally do some messaging that will unconsciously be absorbed by Hindus. That sort of thing. Yeah. So, and this goes very deep. It's not just individuals, it's organizations too that have potentially been compromised, perhaps. And yeah, that goes very deep indeed. Yeah. And such organizations may have millions, tens of millions of followers, perhaps. Whether it's India, whether it's other parts of the world, and so on. So yeah, the rot goes deep, 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 deep. The objective at the end of the day is to erase Indian civilization. The Strummer says, how do we measure time traveled by light coming from interstellar objects? Effect of gravitational lensing on its accuracy. How do we measure the time traveled by light coming from interstellar objects? So essentially, you are asking, how do we measure the distance of, let's say, a star from here? Right? Because the distance of a star, let's say a star is 78 light years away, it means that light has taken 78 years. That's the time light has taken to travel from the star to here. So what you're actually asking is, how do we measure the distance to interstellar objects? Because the time traveled by light is a reflection of the distance. If we know exactly how long light traveled, we will know the distance. So there are multiple ways of doing it. One of the ways of measuring the distance a galaxy is from here. Let's say that we have discovered a galaxy. Okay, we have discovered a galaxy somewhere, but we don't know where it is. We don't quite know how far it is from here. So for stars, there is the parallax method. For galaxies, there is a very accurate method, which is type 1a supernovas. So type 1a supernovas are called standard candles because they always have the same luminosity. And we know how luminosity varies with distance, right? So when we detect a type 1a supernova, which is not very rare in a galaxy, several times a year you will have a type 1a supernova that goes off in any galaxy. So when you detect that, all you have to do is to measure its luminosity, and there's a clear correlation between luminosity and distance, and that's how you can determine how far the galaxy is, and so on. There are various ways of doing it. To explain all of these in detail would take a lot of time, but one of the best ways of doing it is by using type 1a supernovas. How do type 1a supernovas happen? That's when you have a neutron star orbiting a standard star. Okay, and no, it's white dwarf. When you have type 1a supernova happens when you have a white dwarf orbiting a regular star, and the white dwarf is sucking in gas from the regular star. Yes, and then eventually it crosses the Chandrasekhar limit and goes boom boom. So is it white dwarf? Is it neutrons? It's probably white dwarf. Type 1a supernova. And then white dwarf, exactly, yeah. So it crosses the Chandrasekhar limit and then goes boom boom. It undergoes the catastrophic explosion called a type 1a supernova. So because we know exactly what the Chandrasekhar limit is, even if you put one spoonful of more material into the star, it's going to go boom. So that's why we know exactly how much luminosity the supernova will have, and that's how we can measure the distance, calculate the distance. Okay, Ganapati says, the previous question I asked is that I wanted to ask last week, but YouTube Superchat censored it. Finally found a workaround by using ridiculous spellings to bypass. Well, YouTube is YouTube. I suppose it has certain words, certain keywords that it would like to censor and cut out and not allow you to post. I've heard this complaint multiple times from my viewers. that YouTube often censors some super chats or regular chats, and you have to find some workaround for that using ridiculous spellings or something like that. So, well, yeah, yeah. And the level of censorship raises many questions. It does. It does. What can I say? It is what it is. It's look. At the end of the day, it's a private company. It's an American company. It's not an Indian company, and they have their interests. YouTube is an advertising platform, and YouTube is an American platform. And because of these two factors, there's going to be certain kinds of censorship, which is to be expected. Yeah. So I don't complain about it. It is what it is. You either use the platform or you don't, but you don't complain. So I don't complain. Mary Kane, thank you very much, ma'am. I hope you're doing great. Thank you so much. Always good to have you as my viewer. Ritik Pawar says, what is best for a country? A completely sovereign but poor country, for example, India. Second, a non-sovereign but developed rich nation, for example, Germany and Japan. So take the example of Germany. Germany has been under foreign occupation since 1945. Maybe none of you realize this, but Germany has been under permanent American military occupation since 1945. Multiple military bases operated by Americans and run by Americans, with American soldiers permanently stationed there, American fighter jets stationed there, etc. The German constitution was essentially written under the supervision, which means under the supervision of Americans, which means it was essentially written by Americans. And the nation is essentially controlled by the United States. When it comes to, and today, what do you see in Germany? Immigration and all kinds of issues. The economy is being it's going backwards, recession, all sorts of issues, no proper leadership. German leaders, you can't be a German leader, a German chancellor, if you are in any way not aligned with the United States. When it comes to Japan, it's even worse. More than 130 permanent US military bases on Japanese soil. The Japanese economy was slowly wrecked 1980s onwards. By who? By the Americans. The Japanese constitution is written by the Americans. The Japanese economy is run by the Americans. Japanese foreign policy is run by the Americans. Japanese defense policy is run by the Americans. Japan's TFR has undergone catastrophic contraction. So Germany and Japan are examples of non-sovereign nations that are developed and rich, but their entire fate lies in the hands of the foreign overlord. Japan, I'm not sure what kind of future it even has today. They are now importing hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshis and whatnot because their population is just it's collapsing. It's terrible for Japan. So if you are a non-sovereign but rich nation, if you're a citizen of a non-sovereign but rich nation, you're going to have a good lifestyle as long as the overlord allows that. But then they will decide to flood your nation with hundreds of millions or hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshis. Then what happens to your lifestyle? You have no control over what happens to you. That's terrible. In our case, India, completely sovereign nation but poor country. Yeah, but our GDP is rising. We are working as hard as we can to grow our GDP, and India is projected to become a more or less a medium income nation in about 15 years or so, right? GDP per capita, from that perspective, 15-20 years maximum. We also have Bangladeshis all over the place, which is a failure of the government. It has nothing to do with sovereignty or poverty or whatever. So I would say what is best for a country is to be a rich, powerful, and sovereign nation. And if you are a poor but sovereign nation, you should work as hard as possible to become wealthy as soon as possible. That is what is best for a country. And that depends on the quality of the leadership and the quality of the institutions and governance systems. So in India, we have multiple challenges because of all that. All right. Der Übermensch says, I am in class 11th CS, computer science stream, is it? CS. I want to join the army, but family isn't supporting. I have a single mother. What do I do? How do I prepare? Okay, so you are in class 11, which means how old would you be? 15, 16, somewhere around that age. CS means computer science, most likely. You want to join the army, but the family isn't supporting. You have a single mom. What should you do? Well, at the end of the day, you should, I would say, do what you think is best for yourself. I don't think joining the army is a bad thing. You can have a great life, a great career if you join the army. If that's something you desire, then you know what? I can understand why your mom would not like it, perhaps because it's kind of risky. You're going to have to use weapons. You may have to fight Pakistanis and whatnot in someday. So it's understandable that your mom would be kind of not comfortable with that. I can understand that, especially when there are other avenues that you could go into. So maybe, so what you should do is maybe you should try and put yourself in her shoes and maybe think from her perspective too, and test if that changes your mind. And if it doesn't change your mind, maybe you can try and convince your mom. Then you know what? It's not that dangerous a lifestyle, and maybe, and so many people join the armed forces and they do really well. So so try and see things from a perspective. But if you still are sure that you want to join the armed forces, then I think you have a couple of years, maybe 1 year at least, to convince her. So that's what I would suggest you do. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you something. See, if you know what you want to do, but you sacrifice that to please your mom, then how will you feel about your mom in 20 years? You will always have this feeling of bitterness towards her, right? In 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, you will always have this permanent sense of bitterness that your mom made you sacrifice what you really want to do in life. Do you want to have that long-term bitterness towards your mom? I would say you don't want to have it. So in case you don't want to have it, then do what you feel is right for you, even if your mom disagrees. Right? That's what I would suggest. But of course, don't be harsh towards her, don't be unkind, don't be rude, all that. Try and explain to her lovingly that this is what I believe is the right path for me, and I think it's a great career. Try and do that. I hope it works out for you, sir. Thank you. All the best. Nagadan the Shenoy says, Namaskaram. Thank you. Namaskaram. Can you please tell us anything about Kakatiya dynasty? I'm not I'm not the right person for this. I haven't studied the Kakatiya dynasty in any great detail. Yeah, so sorry. I'm really sorry. There are so many incredibly interesting dynasties with such rich history and very, largely unknown histories. So many of these amazing dynasties have ruled various parts of India, and our historians have written very little about these. And so many of them, these dynasties contributed so much to our culture and civilization and history, and they're unsung. So I'm sure the Kakatiyas are one of those dynasties, but I haven't studied their history in any amount of detail, so I won't be able to answer your question. Very sorry about that. Nidhi Roses says, I was shocked that Christmas is a stolen pagan festival from ancient Rome, like Saturnalia. Is true they stole everything? Will they do that to Diwali? In the future, they will. See, I'll tell you what. It is said that Mr. Christ, Mr. Jesus was born on December 25, but it's just a stolen pagan festival. See, Christianity was, see, the Romans, it is said they persecuted Christianity and they persecuted Christians, right? But they did not do that to Jews. Why is that? It's because Judaism was an older religion, older than Rome itself. And Judaism had no interest in converting Roman citizens to Judaism. And Judaism did not pose a threat to the social and imperial fabric of the Roman Empire. That's why the Romans were perfectly happy with Judaism. They did not persecute Jews for practicing their religion. They only persecuted Jews when the Jews tried to rebel against Roman occupation. It had nothing to do with religion. But the Romans persecuted Christians and they tried to stamp out Christianity. It did not work. But why? It's because Christianity was this new artificial cult that was militaristic in nature, that was political in nature. It represented a threat to law and order and culture and civilization. Christians liked to destroy Roman polytheistic temples, desecrate temples, disfigure deities, idols of deities. They liked to murder lady mathematicians on the streets, tear them to pieces. And Christians sought to take over power from Rome. And they succeeded eventually. And how did the early Christians impose Christianity across Europe? By force. And then to ensure that the former pagans continued practicing Christianity, they co-opted the polytheistic festivals and gave them Christian connotations. So one of these is obviously Christmas. So now there is this big campaign going on in India right now to Christianize India. Billions of dollars are being poured into India every year from the West and other parts of the world. And there are industrial scale efforts going on to re-engineer the demographics of India. You can see what's happening in certain parts of India very clearly, right? So if they do succeed in doing to India what they did to Europe, then they will steal Diwali also, and they will give Diwali a new name, and they will have a lunar Christian calendar based on the Hindu calendar, and they will repurpose all the ancient thousands, millennia old Hindu traditions and say that these were all Christian traditions. That's what they will eventually do. So yeah, if we allow this to happen, they will steal Diwali too. Fast Snail says history on 1976 Venezuela oil nationalization. I don't know. It's a very particular specific topic that I haven't studied. So can't say, sir. Very sorry. Very sorry. Brown Leprechaun says, I work as a senior data security consultant and currently reside in Ireland. I will obtain an Irish passport by 2028. In your opinion, is it a good idea to move to Switzerland? If you have an Irish passport, is it easy to move to Switzerland? Because the Swiss, as far as I know and understand, the Swiss historically are not very welcoming of immigration. If you have decent amounts of money, you can buy property in certain parts of Switzerland, like Montreux, which is on the eastern end of Lac Léman or Lake Geneva. That's one part of Switzerland where you can buy property. You can buy commercial property in various parts of Switzerland. But my question is, what I am not able to see is whether you want to become a Swiss citizen or you want to just reside in Switzerland. If you have an Irish passport, I suppose it will be pretty easy for you to reside in Switzerland. And if you can get a job in Switzerland, it will be even easier. So is it a good idea to move? Okay, so first of all, let's say it's possible, it's feasible for you to do that, to move to Switzerland. Is it a good idea? Well, it's a good idea if you have the money. Switzerland is an extremely expensive country to live in. Everything is way higher priced than in Ireland or any other part of most other parts of Europe. Very high cost of living. Okay, apartments. If you want to buy an apartment, I mean, maybe $100,000 per square meter or something. I'm just guessing. Some parts of Switzerland, everything is super expensive. A bottle of Evian will cost way more than it will cost in Ireland and so on. So I would say if you have the money, it's a great place to live in. It's kind of boring, but that's a good thing actually. It doesn't have this roaring nightlife and whatever you find in New York City or San Francisco, whatever. It's a very laid back, conservative country, a very pretty country. So if you have the means to live there, I would say certainly. I don't think it's a bad idea to move to Switzerland. It's a great place to live in. Um, yeah. So it all depends on how much can you afford to spend per year on your as living expenses. If you can afford that, outstanding, great. Okay. Srishti Siliguri says, when I research deeply and connect dots, I feel huge joy as if I have discovered something. But I get stuck in that feeling and pause my work, losing days or months. Okay, why does this happen and how to move ahead? Well, so when you research something deeply and you connect dots, because the more you research, the more connections you'll be able to discover. Sometimes the connections just suddenly pop up in your head, and it's like, wow, I didn't realize that. Yes, there are all these hidden connections that were lying in plain sight, but I could not see them before, but now I can see them. So that gives you this feeling of, yeah, joy, pleasure, euphoria, whatever, right? Yeah, you've obviously discovered something hidden, right? When you are able to connect dots, right? But you get stuck in that feeling and pause your work and lose days and months. Why does this happen? Well, I don't know. I've also had the experience of discovering hidden connections. It does it give me joy? It does give me joy. I like the feeling. Do I pause my work? I actually like want to go deeper and redouble my efforts. So I'm not sure why it happens. See, so no two people are the same. I may experience this in a certain way. You may experience it in a different way. A third person may experience it in a different way, and my reaction will be different from yours, which will be different from a third person. Why does this happen? Maybe you want to celebrate the fact that you've discovered something, and maybe you want to enjoy the joy of this discovery. So I cannot speculate truly about why do you have this reaction that you pause the work and you lose days or months. But the question is how to move ahead. So you what I would recommend is that you should have a rule for yourself, that when I make a discovery like this, I will give myself 60 minutes to dance in joy and to celebrate that in whatever way you like, and then you'll get back to work. It's all about having a standard operating procedure, SOP. It's having and it's easier to have a standard operating procedure than to rely on willpower and discipline. So make a set of rules for yourself, that when I discover something like this, it's a hidden connection. I've connected some dots that others can't see. Then I will celebrate for 60 minutes, maybe one day or whatever. You decide what time period, and then you get back to work. Maybe that SOP will work for you. Processes always translate into discipline. So maybe you can create this kind of standard operating procedure for yourself. All right, ma'am. All the best. Tejas Muddy. Thank you very much, Tejas ji. Andromeda Live Game says, what is going to ultimately happen in Bangladesh? Okay, you're asking me to predict the future, ultimate future in Bangladesh. See, ultimately, what's going to happen is that's in about 5 billion years, the sun will become a red giant. It will engulf the earth, which means that Bangladesh, the Indian subcontinent, everything will melt and we will become part of the sun. That is the ultimate fate. And eventually the sun will shed its outer layers. It will become what's called a planetary nebula. It will not go supernova. And at the center, you will have a white dwarf. And in hundreds of billions of years, it's going to become a black dwarf. So that's what's ultimately going to happen, the ultimate fate of our solar system. The ultimate fate of the universe, I can't really say. But what's going to happen in Bangladesh ultimately? What is the meaning of ultimate is the question I'm trying to point out. When we say ultimately, what do we mean by that? Next 5 years, next 10 years, next 3,000 years? What is ultimate? So I can speculate as to what could happen the coming couple of years. Bangladesh will become more. See, there's going to be an election in Bangladesh sometime next year. That election is going to be interesting. When's the next election in Bangladesh? Let's see. Let's find out. When is the next election in Bangladesh. When is it? 12th February 2026. So that election will either lead to Bangladesh becoming even more anti-India, or maybe depending on the outcome of the election, it could stop being so anti-India. But overall, Bangladesh is going the way of Pakistan. It's reverting to its East Pakistan status the way things are right now. So Hindus are in danger now. I don't know what the percentage of Hindus is right now, but in 20 years, it could be what you have in Pakistan, maybe 2% or something. It could end up like that. There are various possibilities that are open. I can't predict what's going to happen. Depends on so many different variables and parameters. Okay, Hit Dedia says, please complete the remaining book for reviews. I've got a million books. I've got a million books out here. I must have done quite a few, more than a dozen book reviews. And each time I was reviewing like 5, 6 books. That process can take forever. Maybe I'll do a few more. Maybe I should first put out those book reviews in the form of separate short clips. That's the first thing I can do, and then maybe I'll look into doing more book reviews. The remaining, I don't know what the remaining number is. There is no remaining number. The remaining number is infinity for me, book reviews wise. Because yeah, as long as I'm here on the planet, I'm going to be reading books. Euler says every Indian now thinks that they're an expert in geopolitics. Well, Indians, I think, now have a much better understanding of international relations and what we call geopolitics than, let's say, in 2021. So, until the 2020s, there were experts, some experts in India, and they called themselves strategic affairs experts. Right? The word geopolitics did not register in the Indian vocabulary. So all these experts, they used to call themselves strategic affairs experts. Then I did this podcast with Ranveer Alabadia. It was probably in 2021, in which I discussed geopolitics. And then this word entered the Indian lexicon, geopolitics. And now everybody discusses geopolitics. So now people have, I think, more of an understanding of the wider world out there. Because until the 2020s, when Indians thought of foreign policy, international relations, all they thought was Pakistan, 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 Pakistan. Then later China came on the horizon. Indians started understanding that China is also maybe a larger threat. And now Indians can see a much broader picture. And these days, everybody speaks about geopolitics on YouTube. News readers are considered to be experts. So, and Indians consume a lot of geopolitical content. So everybody has opinions now. And when you have an opinion, you believe you're an expert. Well, I don't think it's a bad thing. At least Indians are now better informed, maybe not completely well informed or whatever, but it's a good thing overall that Indians are now interested in international relations, geopolitics, the national interest, the competing interests of nations. I think it's a great thing. Akhil GK says, some people say bananas and coconuts in India came from Southeast Asia. Do you agree? I don't know. I have not looked into the origin of bananas and coconuts and papayas and strawberries and whatnot. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I have not looked into the origin of bananas or coconuts. I think coconuts are all over the place. So are bananas. So I don't agree or disagree right now because I have not looked into the matter. Pratardana says tin bronze versus arsenical bronze. So bronze is this alloy. Bronze is an alloy. That's an interesting point you're raising, yes, there. Are we talking about the Aryan tourism theory? Okay, so bronze is an alloy. What's an alloy? An alloy is the combination of two or more metals. Okay, so you melt one metal, you melt another metal, you mix them together. Maybe you don't mix them, but you beat them together. There are various ways of forming alloys. Typically, you take two molten metals and you mix them together. So when it comes to bronze is an alloy that is primarily copper plus either arsenic or tin. Now, tin, Shortugai Turkmenistan, Gandhar, that region. So tin was available in mines in the outermost northwestern fringes of historical Bharatvarsh, which is, see, when Shri Chinggis Khan decided to pursue Jalaluddin and enter India, the border between Central Asia and India was the iron gates of Sogdiana. Let's find out where that is, okay? Iron Gate of Sogdiana. Where is it located? Defiled between Balkh and Samarkand. So, do we have it on the map? Not this, not this. This is somewhere in Mumbai. What are they doing? Iron Gate of Sogdiana. Do we have? Okay, we have coordinates here. Coordinates. So let's go to the map and use these coordinates. Now let's open the map. Okay. Where is map? Here is map. Now we put in the coordinates, zoom into the place, and look what we find. So this is the place. Okay, this used to be the border between India and Central Asia. It was all the way here when Sri Chinggis Khan entered India. So essentially, the border of Tajikistan and Turkmenistan was the border between Bharatvarsh and Central Asia. Now, tin was found in Shortugai, which is Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, somewhere there. Also, northwest Afghanistan, etc. Tin. So, bronze is maybe 90% copper, 10% tin, or something. So maybe 12% tin or something. And if you don't have tin, then you can use arsenic, which is a poisonous metal. But you can use arsenic to make bronze, the alloy with copper. So before tin was discovered, bronze was made with arsenic. And you find arsenic bronze in various parts of the world, including India, including the Saraswati Sindhu region during that phase of India. Is it? Let's see. Yeah, I haven't really studied this in great detail, but it's a very interesting topic. Arsenic bronze, Indus Valley. Do we have this? Indus Valley, prominent bronze, blah, 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 naturally, it's a tin. Okay, so we used, Indus metallurgists used arsenic and tin with copper to achieve superior. Varmana, arsenic was a dominant alloy. With Kuntasi, arsenic and tin were the key. Yeah, so I suppose that if you could create a timeline of when arsenic gives way to tin, then it could indicate certain aspects of the chronology of Indian history. Yeah, so it's something I have to look into in more detail, but it's a very interesting topic that you've raised. So I will look into this in more detail. Okay, Kavya Chef says, most people in Abrahamic religions are not patriotic towards India. Religion comes first. Mass conversion to Christianity is happening all over, like building a Trojan horse in India. Will India become Troy? Well, the way things are going, in maybe 50 years, India will, they will take over India, the Abrahamic religions. See, Indian civilization, Indian culture, Indian religion, which is various aspects of dharma, they have always depended on state support. Always. Without state support, polytheistic cultures die. And today in India, you have a government and a system that is supposedly secular. But secularism in India means Hindu-phobia. India obviously is the most Hindu-phobic nation in the world. If you look at various aspects of the Indian constitution, various ways in policies that are, various ways in which policies are implemented and so on, India is the most Hindu-phobic nation in the world. Hindus are second-class citizens already, as per the constitution and the laws and the policies of the government of India. Plus, you have tremendous amounts of money being poured into India and these religious conversion activities, conversion of people on an industrial scale into Abrahamic religions and so on. Um, yeah, so it's very likely that Hinduism will not really be there in the 22nd century. And if you see, I mean, Indians are so gullible, Indians are so childlike. If you look at, if you visit large cities in India, you will see Christmas decorations all over the place. You will see Hindus wishing Hindus a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas. You will see Hindus dressed as Santa Claus. I just don't get what on earth they're trying to do. So Indians are deluded. Indians have this death wish, it looks like, and which is, and the government doesn't care about Indian culture clearly. You know, beyond slogans and token developments, like, I'll not give examples. What's the point? So yeah, will India become Troy? It is a very significant possibility that India will go down the path of Europe. What happened to Europe 1,000 years ago could happen to India in this century. It's just happening in front of us. How many new temples are being built in your city? How many new Hindu temples are being built in your city or town? Now compare that with religious structures of the Abrahamic religions. How many new of those are new such structures are being built? All across India, there's hardly any new Hindu temples being built. But Abrahamic structures are cropping up, mushrooming all over the place, encircling ancient Hindu temples and so on. It's a very well organized, very well planned, organized, and executed strategy. And it looks like the government of India is turning a blind eye or maybe even participating. So, yeah, it looks like we are possibly the last few generations of Hindus left in the world. In the future, maybe our descendants will talk about Hinduism like they speak about Zoroastrianism, or maybe the religion of Babylon or something of the past, the Egyptian religion. They used to be polytheists. Fascinating. Okay. Ganpati says, in a capacitor carrying AC current, no charge crosses the dielectric. How does Maxwell's fourth equation explain this? Is the current passing, or is it a field effect? I had an electromagnetic course last year but never understood. Look, I will have to brush up my electromagnetic theory to answer your question. I will have to draw a diagram. Capacitor carrying AC. Capacitor carrying AC. A capacitor stores charge. How can it carry AC current? No charge crosses the dielectric. How does it? Is the current passing, or is it a field effect? Look, I'll have to brush up my electromagnetics. Okay, this is all stuff that I haven't looked into in quite a while, and I'm not sure capacitors can carry AC current. Capacitors can hold charge and then discharge like that. And what are the field effects and so on? I can't answer right now. I'll have to brush up my electromagnetics. I have the Shawm book on that. I could look into it, but yeah, this may not be the right forum for that. Lollipop says, oh, no question. Well, thank you very much, Lollipop. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Rajat says, how matter occupies space due to Pauli exclusion principle in layman's terms. The Pauli exclusion principle. The Pauli exclusion. Okay. The Pauli exclusion principle says that, say, there are certain particles called fermions. We know about the subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons, W bosons and whatever. These are subatomic particles. Now, these are classified into particles that obey the Bose-Einstein statistics and the Fermi-Dirac statistics. Particles that obey the Fermi-Dirac statistics are called fermions. Particles that obey Bose-Einstein statistics are called bosons. Particles that are fermions, they obey the Pauli exclusion principle, which says that no two identical fermions can occupy the same energy state in a system. So if you have an atom with a nucleus, positively charged nucleus, which is protons and neutrons bound together by nuclear glue, the strong nuclear force. So you have a nucleus, and then you have a cloud of electrons. You could visualize it as a electrons circling the nucleus. It's not like that, but you can visualize it like that. So the electrons, they are organized in energy levels, and no two identical fermions, spin up, spin down, can occupy the same energy level, which is why electrons are spaced out. And that's why we have the shell configuration 1s, 2s, spdf, all that stuff. So essentially, it's like, you have an apartment building, you have a high-rise building, you have a ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, that sort of thing. In the ground floor, you have rooms. In each room, only two guys can sit, but not two identical guys, one with spin up, one with spin down, that sort of thing. And electrons can occupy higher floors only after they fill up the ground floor and that sort of thing. So because of that, matter doesn't clump together everything in one place. That's why matter is spaced out, and that's why atoms occupy space. There is something called Pauli degeneracy pressure. So there's a pressure. If you try to squeeze an atom, there's a pressure that you will feel outwards because of the Pauli exclusion principle, and that's why matter essentially occupies space, if it makes sense. RTX Army, thank you very much, RTX Army. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Brown Leprechaun says, what is hidden in the Vatican City? Roman wealth? Well, I haven't been there, so can't say. And even if you go to the Vatican City, they will not let you see what's hidden there. So it's all secrets. They have a secret library there. They have secret vaults and God knows what else secret stuff there. That's all secret. And the definition of secret is that we don't know. So I can't say what's hidden there because it is all secret. They're very secretive about what they've hidden there. There's obviously a lot of stuff that's hidden there. A lot of books that you're not allowed to access. Maybe books with I don't know, some important information, or maybe knowledge they've stolen from various parts of the world, or God knows what else. Can't say. Because it's secret, we can't say. Swastik Mahesh says, how can India help the Balochistan freedom movement? I would say that India can help the Balochistan freedom movement in a lot of ways, by funding them through third parties, by providing them arms, ammunition, training, munitions, whatever, political support, diplomatic support. There are so many ways that India can do that if India wants to, right? Euler says, Russia has always been bad to its neighbors, 1800 until now, invading Ukraine, even though Ukraine is a sovereign nation. Every right to join NATO, look into Russian atrocities. Okay, sir, thank you very much. Very bad, Russia. Very naughty, always very naughty. Always bad things they do. Bad to its neighbors. 1800 till now. Ukraine is a sovereign nation. Every right to join NATO. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you know Russia also wanted to join NATO? Russia also wanted to join NATO. If Russia had joined NATO, do you think any of these things would have happened? Do you think any of these issues would have happened? Russia wanted to join NATO before the formation of the Warsaw Pact. Let's fact check that, okay? Did Russia want to join NATO before formation of Warsaw Pact bloc? Yes. The USSR formally proposed joining NATO in 1954. But the Western powers rejected this. And that's why the next year the USSR formed the Warsaw Pact. The USSR wanted to join the Western Bloc and live in peace with everybody. Did you know this? Russia very bad. West very good. Russia always bad. Now let's do a follow-up to this. Okay? Did Putin want Russia to join NATO? Ex-NATO head says Putin wanted to join alliance. Putin wanted to join the alliance early on in his rule. Do you understand? Even Vladimir Putin wanted to join NATO. If Russia had been allowed to join NATO during the early part of Vladimir Putin's rule, do you think the Ukraine war would have happened? Please look at the big picture. Don't fall prey to propaganda. The USSR wanted to join NATO before the formation of the Warsaw Bloc. The Western nations rejected the USSR's proposal to join NATO. If the USSR had been allowed into NATO, the whole world would have been at peace. But the West rejected that. The West wanted to keep the USSR out, and the West wanted to disintegrate the USSR. And Putin also, once he came to power in the late 20th century, when did he come to power? Early 21st century, whenever it was, he also wanted Russia to join NATO. The West again rejected that. Please, let's study history a little bit. Then you will see the bigger picture of what has really happened and who's the real villains out there. Ishant Singh says, favorite bodybuilder, Arnold, Ronnie Coleman, somebody else. Arnold. I mean, compared to today's bodybuilders, the mass monsters, Arnold sometimes you could say looks small, right? But Arnold is the greatest. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. And Ronnie Coleman also, obviously. Ronnie Coleman is, let me just quickly see. Ronnie Coleman. Lightweight Baby, is that the one? Lightweight Baby. Yeah, this is the guy. Right. He's also one of the all-time greats. I would say Arnold and Ronnie Coleman are two of the all-time greats. And I have Arnold's book over here. It used to be back here. It's now over there. Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Right. Commando says, wormholes and white holes, do they exist? Explain Einstein field equation and its solutions. How can I explain Einstein field equation? Okay, first of all, do wormholes exist? We have never observed a wormhole. We have never observed a white hole. But some of the objects we do observe may actually turn out to be wormholes or white holes. Wormholes would also look from far away just like black holes. They would also have many of the properties that black holes have, and their effects on the surrounding regions would be very, very similar to the effects that black holes have. White holes could also sometimes mimic black holes in some ways. Maybe quasars could have white holes at the center. So we don't know for sure. And there are certain ways of testing that out also. For example, if you have a wormhole, okay, at the center, maybe the supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies are wormholes, perhaps, right? And some of these galactic centers are active galactic nuclei. And there may be ways of determining whether it's a black hole or a wormhole. Because if matter falls into a wormhole throat, there are certain properties and then certain phenomena that you could observe and so on. So we don't know for sure, for certain, that wormholes have been observed, white holes have been observed, but they do exist as valid solutions to Einstein's field equations. Now, I cannot explain Einstein's field equations and solutions over here. Come on, that's a 2-hour lecture at least. Pratik Shenoy says, why do you add Shri before Shri Chinggis Khan? Is sarcasm? No, it's not sarcasm. I respect the guy. Great man. Shri Chinggis Khan. Ganapati says, you mean Celtic Dharmi and Patrick Brock? I will neither confirm nor deny. You seem to be a very observant person, sir, but I shall... Well, these nasty chaps playing nasty games on NX, there are enough people who get fooled by them. I commend your intellect, sir. But maybe that answers your question, but I shall neither confirm nor deny. But I appreciate your intellect. Appreciate it very much. All right. M. Sack says, I am seeing my colleagues taking leaves for Xmas, Christmas or Diwali. Should Indian corporates change the yearly leave renewal to around October, November? You can't tell corporates and private companies what to do. They can formulate their own rules. My question is, why do we even have a Christmas vacation in India? Our holidays are during the Diwali period, right? We should have Diwali vacation. We don't. Ideally, in India, we should not have a summer vacation. We should have a winter vacation, 2 months official leave for schools, colleges, universities, etc., and whatever other institutions. And that leave should be centered around Diwali, not summer holidays. See, India has summer vacations. Why? Because India was under British occupation, and the British like to take a couple of months off during the summer and go to Shimla or Manali or wherever. And after we became supposedly independent, we have slavishly, blindly continued the same policy that the British had without understanding why the British did that. What's the point of having a vacation in summer where you can't travel and you can't go out? It's uncomfortable. You should do this in winter, and it should be centered around Diwali. That is one easy way to decolonize. But no, we are slaves, we are sheep, right? In India. India is so deeply, deeply colonized, you people don't even realize that. Why do we need a Christmas vacation? Why on earth do we need that? If someone wants to take leave for Christmas privately, they can take it. Paid leave or unpaid leave or whatever the hell that is. But the official vacations in India should be in winter, during Diwali, around that time, 2 months at that time. That's the best time in India to have a vacation. Shravya K. Thank you very much, Shravya K. Appreciate it very much. Okay. Sunu Lal says, are you satisfied with questions of history, geopolitics asked by viewers? Am I satisfied? It doesn't matter whether I'm satisfied or not. Are you all satisfied with the answers? Look, yeah, overall, you get interesting questions, especially when it comes to history. I get interesting questions. So when I do the live stream, like the one I did yesterday, in which I invite questions in the comments, I get some really, really interesting questions every time. And some people, like for example, Amisha, etc., they ask so many questions. I cannot. I sometimes I'm tempted just to take 20 of one person's questions because the questions are interesting, sometimes so interesting. But I typically take like 3, 4 of one person's questions because otherwise lots of people will complain. I know, because I've been doing this for a long time. But the point is, people ask really, really interesting questions when it comes to history. Now, if I were to do a similar live stream on geopolitics based on questions asked in the comments, I'm sure many of the questions will be really interesting. And I've seen that questions asked in the super chat are typically of a higher quality than asked in the live chat. So, yeah. Ganapati says, US airstrikes over Nigeria, thoughts? Well, it is what it is. What are my thoughts? The US will do what it wants. The US will do it because it can. Godliness says, PM says a lot in regards to dismantling colonialism, but his own government from past 11 years did nothing for technological sovereignty. We stand nowhere in chips, AI, biotech, or quantum computing. Technological sovereignty and decolonization are different topics, but there is so much more. I agree with you. There's so much more we can do. Now we have this semiconductor mission, and we are beginning to manufacture chips of certain kinds of chips, and also we are taking baby steps. We're going to start somewhere, so we have started the process. In AI, I'm not sure what on earth we are doing. I have no idea. Biotech, I'm not sure. Quantum computing, I don't know. See, to stand at a global level and to compete at the global level in any technology, whether it's AI, biotechnology, quantum computing, whatever, you need a world-class education system and higher education in universities and colleges that is focused on research and development. You will never have high-quality research done in a country which has a rotten education system. If we want to compete with the US and China in cutting edge technology, we're going to have to revamp the entire education system, and nothing like that is being done. I'm not asking for the luxury of having a world class education system. It's not a luxury. It is non-negotiable. Without that, we will never have technological sovereignty. So that's where we stand right now. What about space exploration? What's happening? So yeah, there's a lot that can be improved when it comes to dismantling colonialism. So much should be done, but well, I don't know. Maybe it'll take another 100 years. I don't know. We'll see. Mary Kane, good to see you, ma'am. Working on it. I think there's a timeout on this or longer question. More this limit for $5. Okay. Okay. All right. Good to see you, Mary. Good to see you always. Krishant Bordoloy says, you would be pleased to know that the history books till class 7 have been corrected. My mom is a teacher. The books of 8, 9, 10th are also corrected. I'm glad. Yeah. So certain steps are being taken. See, Indians have been demanding for 11 years, please correct the history textbook. So now something is being done. But what about the deep-rooted problems in the Indian education system? Right? We need merit. We need quality teachers. We need a focus on understanding, not rote memorization. We need to focus on critical thinking, not rote memorization. There's so many fundamental issues that are completely being ignored. So I'm glad that some textbooks have been corrected, etc. But it's just baby steps. But it's definitely good steps nonetheless. So I'm glad. The Strummer says, how did ancient cartographers create fairly accurate maps without having advanced technology? I am not really sure. I haven't looked into this matter. How did ancient cartographers create maps? I suppose, I don't know. I've not looked into this. I suppose they would navigate coastlines and use their imagination. I'm not sure. Look, I don't know about this. Sorry. Fast Snail says, whom to believe, China or the US with respect to Arunachal claim? What has the US said about? Is the US also claiming Arunachal now? I'm not sure what the context of your question is. I believe the US National Security Report or something has said that China considers Arunachal Pradesh a core issue or something. And China does claim Arunachal Pradesh. So I'm not sure there is an either or situation here. The Americans kind of have acknowledged that China claims Arunachal Pradesh as one of its core interests or issues. And China does do that. So yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Rajat says neuroscience can't define consciousness and there are 300 theories and none of these are even practical. Science is only good for objects. How can a physical brain with electrons, protons, neutrons have first-person experience? Upanishad. There is no consensus. I'll tell you what is the central problem with consciousness. The central problem with consciousness is that first of all, it exists. When you see a cat, look, there's a consciousness there. It's conscious. We know that. When you see a butterfly, you know it's conscious in some shape or form. When you see a dog, you know it's conscious. So when you see it, you recognize it immediately. You see a fish, yeah, that thing is conscious. There is a consciousness inside. It may not be a higher consciousness like ours, but there is a consciousness there. So when we see it, we recognize it immediately, which means it exists. But now the question is, how do we define it? And we are unable to define it. So it's something that does exist, but we are unable to define it scientifically. I am not talking about philosophical definitions and so on. I'm talking about hard science. From a hard science perspective, we are unable to define consciousness. Let's say I create a black box. It's a box. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, six-sided box, cubical box, completely black. I don't know what's inside. If there's the consciousness inside that box, how do I define it? What will be the characteristics of that consciousness? Can I define it from a physical perspective, from a physics perspective, from a quantum theory perspective, from an information theory perspective, from a neuroscience perspective, from various perspectives? Can any of these disciplines give me a rigorous definition of consciousness. None of these can. Right? So that's why people talk about Upanishads and whatnot, but that's not science, that is philosophy. Please understand there's a difference between philosophy and science. And when you are a scientist, you cannot start dabbling in 50 different things. You have to be disciplined enough to remain in the physical realm, which is observable objects, quantifiable objects, measurable objects, observable phenomena, and so on. The physical world only. And why is it important? Because consciousness is attached to the physical world. This thing here isn't conscious, right? This thing here, this lens cap, isn't conscious. We know that. But this here is conscious. Consciousness is attached to the physical objects. That's why there has to be ideally a physical definition of consciousness. But we are unable to do that. So that's the issue. Yeah. Prataradana says wholesale transfer of SSVC, Sindhu Saraswati civilization, Harappan technology post 2000 BC to Mediterranean region. Locals in Troy, Crete were making Indus beads with the same style. Okay, we know that around 2000 or 3000 BC, people in Crete, they had painted frescoes of Indian monkeys, langurs. Yeah, and I haven't looked into the bead making in the region, in the Mediterranean region, but it's very interesting. I'll have to look into this. So clearly, if they did frescoes, they painted frescoes with Indian langurs, clearly they had connections with India. Maybe Indians even came and gave them gifts of langurs, right? Or maybe their traders came to India and they saw these fantastic monkeys, and maybe they came back to Crete and then drew the langurs. For example, see, let's take a look at the langur frescoes. Minoa, Minoan civilization, Akrotiri, Santorini. Is it Crete? Santorini, Minoan. So there we have it. These blue monkeys are actually langurs. Clearly langurs. There we have it. Same guy. So how did this happen? So Minoan civilization was in Santorini, right? Santorini. Crescent shape island. So where is it? Let's see the map. Yes. It's not quite Crete. Crete, it's near Crete, isn't it? Yeah. So this is Crete, and north of Crete you have Thera, Santorini. As you can see, it's a volcanic caldera. There was a gigantic volcanic eruption there, which ended the civilization there, and so on. So that's where they painted these frescoes with Indian langurs. So clearly there was a connection all these thousands of years ago. So clearly ancient connections existed, and I'll have to look into what you're mentioning here, but I would not be surprised that this is obviously going to be a fact. Yeah. Prathardana says December isn't 12th but 10th month. Octo nove dece, right? 8, 9, 10. Latin. How do you say 8, 9, 10 in Latin? In French, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 to 10. 1 to 10 in Latin. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's September, October, November, December, which means the 7th month, 8th month, 9th month, and 10th month. But December is the 12th month. So what happened? So you see, the European calendar was very primitive. They probably had 10 months initially. Then Julius Caesar said, I should have a month named after me. So July was inserted. Then Augustus said, if my adoptive father has a month named after him, I should also have a month named after him. So after Julius, July, came Augustus's August. So earlier they had 10 months, but 2 extra months were added, July and August. So that's why the 10th month ended up becoming the 12th month, that sort of thing. That's kind of roughly what happened. The European calendar is very primitive, and they even today it's not Very accurate. Yeah, you have leap years and all that stuff. All right. Krishant Bordoloy says, I have also seen your video on wanting the government to make Sanskrit the national language and revamping the entire education system. But to do that, they need 362 seats. I'm not sure if they will do it even if they have 400 seats. I'm not sure. I hope I'm wrong. Look, 362 seats are needed for what? For a constitutional amendment, is it, or what exactly is it? Maybe it's that. How many seats are needed for a how many seats in parliament are needed to pass a constitutional amendment in oh come on, in Lok Sabha? Two-thirds majority. Okay, yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, you need the will to do that. I'm not sure if our politicians even understand the importance of making Sanskrit the national language. And there's a lot of resistance against what many people called the imposition of Sanskrit, Sanskritization, and all that. Yeah, so lots of issues. MK says, is Christmas linked to Roman Sol Invictus and Saturnalia? How are they similar to Sankranti, which marks the sun's shift, Sol Invictus, and harvest Saturn? Look, I don't know I don't know the details. I have not studied this. I have a podcast with a professor, with Dr. C.K. Raju, in which he may have spoken about this, or he may have spoken about this in other videos. But I haven't studied this in detail. I haven't looked into this. I haven't researched the specific festivals that are linked with the specific pagan festivals that were appropriated by Christians and converted into Christmas. Probably Saturnalia, but I'm not sure exactly which one it is. And the connection with Sankranti, I'm sure there must be some, but I don't know the specifics, so can't say, sir. Okay. Tech Dest says, if Pashtuns are of Indian descent, why are they genetic outliers even among Indian Muslim communities? Studies like whatever have shown Iranian Central Asian ancestry with minimum South Asian admixture distinct from Indians. Listen, please. Pay attention. Pay attention, please. Gandhar has been under foreign occupation for 1,000 years. Fact number one. It is the first part of India to fall to the Turkic invasion 1,000 years ago. Okay? So the Pashtuns are the descendants of the Indians of that time who had to intermingle and intermix with foreigners. Please be aware of this fact. If you look at the population of Afghanistan today, the majority ethnic group is the Pashtuns. But there are lots of Turkic ethnic groups like the Turkmens, the Hazaras are Mongolic, the Turkmens, the Uzbeks, and whatnot. And they've been around for 1,000 years. So obviously those genetics will introgress into the Pashtun population, because those Turkic groups were the hegemons. They were the foreign occupiers who had subjugated the ancestors of the people who are now known as the Pashtuns. Their ancestors were Hindus and Buddhists. So those genetics will enter the population over a period of 1,000 years, no question about it. Look at the Parsis of India. They came from Persia, right? 1,200, 300 years ago. They have lived peacefully in India for 1,300 years. They have not been oppressed, but still their genetics show more Indian genetics than Persian genetics, even though India and Persia are very similar genetics. But you can see the differences. So then you can ask the question that if Parsis, Indian Zoroastrians are of Persian descent, why do they have more Indian genetics than Persians? But you know the answer, right? Because they've been living in India for 1,300 years. And that amount of that longer time is going to have the effect of having the local genetics introgress into your populations. Similarly, for the Pashtuns, please understand, it's not a population that was isolated from the occupiers and invaders for 1,000 years. Doesn't that explain everything? Think, please think. It's so frustrating when people don't think. V for Valor, Eurox. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Pratik Shenoy says, could India realistically shift into a Hindu nation or Hindu monarchy by dismantling democratic structures like Islamist groups influence Bangladesh into Islamic State? India realistically shift by dismantling democratic structures. Who will do it? Who will do it? If you do it, you're going to have to do it across the country. This is a gigantic country. You do it in one part of India, 78 other parts of India will resist and protest. They will say, we don't accept this. Then what will you do? Unless you have somebody of the caliber of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj or Rajendra Chola or Kanishka or Chandragupta Maurya with Vishnugupta Chanakya, somebody of that, or Lord Ram or Lord Krishna, somebody of that stature and caliber will have to come and do it. Mediocre politicians won't be able to achieve any such thing. We really will need, at this point in time, the return of Lord Krishna like he had promised. Nothing else will save India at this point in time. Krishant Bordoloy says, Indian Gen Z in towns are becoming more conservative. Reason? I'm not sure. Are Indian Gen Z kids becoming more conservative? I think there is a revival of interest in Indian culture these days. There is a revival of pride in being Indian, which is kind of paradoxical given the fact that we are so mentally colonized and our education system mentally colonizes us even further. Maybe it's the influence of social media. Maybe social media has a good influence as well, apart from whatever else. So could be multiple reasons. I haven't really looked into this. I haven't thought about this, but I hear that Indian Gen Z is kind of becoming more proud than previous generations about being Indian and more into Indian culture, which I obviously welcome very much. Ritik says, how did Bakhtiyar Khilji meet his death? There are multiple versions of what happened. I'm not quite sure what happened. Was he assassinated by one of his Turkic rivals? Was he defeated by the Tibetans and slain there? I'm not really sure what exactly happened. There are different versions of what happened. Yeah. Mary Kane says, what if India 2026 to-do list? Okay. What if India 2026 to-do list? 1, moon-based logistics hub build out to EML5 to protect logistics. Question, who will protect India's digital security? I would love to have a moon-based logistics hub. Yeah. But for that, India will have to first reach the moon. Right now, we have a dead lander on the moon, which landed successfully and also did a hop experiment. So that was Chandrayaan 3. The next Chandrayaan mission will probably be a sample return mission. So I believe ISRO has plans of sending humans to the moon by 2040 or something, from mid 2030s, maybe 2040. So that's going to way exceed the 2026 hope that some of us have. So 2026 won't be possible. So the first landing will happen in 2040, and to build a logistics hub and all may take another 10, 20 years. So maybe the second half of the 21st century, India may have a proper moon base with logistics hubs and all that. And obviously, if you have a logistical hub, etc., you'll have to protect it. So you may need some some military presence on the moon, which will be very interesting, which means other nations will also have it. Who will protect India's digital security is the question. Well, who will do it? India will have to do it. India's government will have to do it. What do we mean by digital security? It means our data security. Our data, Our sovereign systems, all of that needs to be secure. It's the government's job to protect India's, critical vital data, proprietary data, and so on. So the government is supposed to do it. I suppose they are doing that. And obviously, there will be foreign actors that will want to breach the security, and it's always a cat and mouse game that's going on. So I hear from, let's say, reliable sources that India actually has one of the best cybersecurity defensive and offensive capabilities in the world. India doesn't, for a change, India doesn't boast about this. India stays quiet about this, but yeah, we do have pretty good capabilities. So that is reassuring for me. Apurva Aditya Jha says, unknown gunmen having a good time. I see. Well, did something happen? Did something happen vis-a-vis the unknown gunmen? I'm not aware. But okay. Yeah, I mean, you do need unknown gunmen, especially in nations that are known for terroristic activities and agendas. So, yeah, okay. Alzat. Okay. All right. Alzat says, can we exploit Deoband and Barelvi differences? YK. When it comes to the various schools of Islamic thought and all, I am no expert in these things. I don't know what are the differences between the Deobandis and the Barelvis and all. Deobandis are Deoband is the alma mater of the Taliban, clearly. The Barelvi school or whatever it is, seminary, is the alma mater of something else. I am not very well informed about this. Yeah, I'm no expert in Islamic stuff, so can't say. Mohnish Sabarinath says, why do almost all countries, including India, have decriminalized adultery in marriage? Is this a sign of breaking societies down by larger powers? Maybe. So historically, how was it? If we read the Arthashastra, was adultery punished? Probably it was in some shape or form. Not very harsh punishments, but it was definitely a punishable offense in some way. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read the Arthashastra, and I never looked into those aspects. I was more interested in the space, statecraft, international relations, and such activities, such aspects of the Arthashastra. But yes, see, today the entire world follows the Western systems, and in the West, well, adultery is no big deal. Adultery it's not even regarded as a sin or something evil or something unacceptable anymore. It's just par for the course. Most people marry for a few years and then it's understood that they'll get divorced. And even while they are married, they have affairs and whatnot. So the Western system is the system that everybody else has adopted, including India. We have, our leaders have had this massive inferiority complex. So everything the West does, we must emulate over here. And obviously, this is going to have a bad effect on society. And I would say, look, I'm not sure if it should be criminalized, but there should be a strong taboo against adultery. And there should be social circumstances. I'm not saying loss of life or violence or any such thing. I'm just saying there should be some kind of social circumstances that make adultery something that nobody would want to do. Because a culture in which you have adultery that is rampant across society is a culture that's on very shaky foundations, because the institution of marriage is one of the major pillars of civilized existence. So yeah, in the Western world, marriage is almost not really a very strong organization or strong institution anymore. So I'm not sure how civilized you can be if you no longer take marriage and the loyalty that comes with it seriously. Hyphen says, medical in UK is so bad to the point where we have to wait for hours just to be seen in an emergency, and wait for weeks and months for a surgery. Most people in the UK go to India for treatment. Yes, it's become, they have engineered the situation. It's the same in Canada. In the US, if you have the money, you can get things done quickly. If you have insurance, you may have to wait, and you may have to stand in line and wait in line and whatnot. If you have, if you are very wealthy, you can skip the line, I suppose, in the US, waiting for whatever lung transplant or heart transplant or whatever. I suppose if you have the money, you could skip the line. So yeah, it's a world in which the super rich don't have to wait for hours or any such thing, but ordinary people, they are better off visiting India, on medical tourism or whatever. So the system used to be great in the past. I mean, if you look at Canada, so the UK, Canada, the US, these are part of the Anglosphere. And you can see the same pattern emerging across the Anglosphere. So Canada has this free healthcare system, but now you have to wait for weeks to get an X-ray, for example, apparently, in some parts of Canada, and so on. So this has been deliberately engineered. There's no need for things to become this bad. Yeah, so that's the quality of life today that you have in the Western world, in the UK. The UK society is disintegrating. The UK's government is, what can I say? Yeah, sad indeed. This is the visible decline of the West that we are seeing here. So yeah, if you can come to India, you should visit India maybe once in a couple of years. If you have any medical issues, get those fixed in India. Bipul Singh says, nothing against any caste. Do you think that after obtaining 3 consequent degree using reservations, still using it for becoming a professor in top engineering college stems the research up and quality of teaching? I am a strong proponent of pure merit. See, in any nation, there's going to be inequality. And India was under foreign occupation for 1,000 years, so there's going to be tremendous inequality. A number of people, they benefited from the foreign occupation, those who were collaborators, and the rest of the people were beggared, right? So there's going to be this tremendous inequality. And the British, what they did is they engineered all these horrific problems in society and then blamed it on the Indians. They imposed a 4-pronged caste system on India. They made it official, and then they blamed the caste system for the evils that they had introduced into society. And today, this is what we are taught, and we believe that our ancestors were super evil and blah, blah, blah. And that's why we have reservations given to the people who belong to the so-called lower castes. I don't believe in this lower upper caste at all. Okay? We're all Indians. We're the same. We should not have any of these things. But the government mandates this, right? On your school leaving certificate, your caste has to be there. On your birth certificate, your caste has to be there. The government makes it mandatory for caste to exist. And then they blame caste for everything. India has a caste system. Why don't you erase caste? So my point is, first of all, they've created this. The British created it, and our governments have perpetuated that. Then they imposed reservations based on caste. You know what? Reservations are not a bad idea if they are applied, if they are implemented for maybe 20 years. And if reservations don't have the intended benefit in 20 years, then clearly the government has failed in implementing reservations. It should not take more than 20 years to rebalance society if it's done right. But reservations, if they are to be given, they should be given on the basis of your financial status, financial situation and circumstances of a family, not on the basis of caste. There are plenty of people from the so-called lower castes or whatever who are very wealthy, but they get the benefit of reservations. The reservations, if they are to be given, should be given only on the basis of financial circumstances. If you are below poverty line, yeah, sure, give reservations, but not forever. So that's what I believe in. If we continue reservations forever, it's going to destroy Indian society, and everybody who is worth anything will leave the country, and they will hate India forever. Yeah, so this is a recipe for disaster, reservations. Kiran More says US leaked the document of Putin talking to Bill Clinton about that Pakistan should not have nuclear weapons. Why is the US behaving so immaturely? Did the US leak it? Did somebody else leak it? Is this a true document? Is it a fake document? We don't know. How do we know it's a genuine document? And if it is a genuine document, how do we know that the US government has leaked it? Maybe somebody who is no longer affiliated with the US government may have leaked it. We don't know for sure anything, right? We don't know what is true, what is not. So can't say for sure. There has been this report in the news that there's been this leak of this transcript or whatever of Putin talking to Clinton about Pakistan. Let's see what the news report says. Okay, leaked Putin-Clinton conversation about Pakistan nuclear weapons. So this is coming out on what? Facebook and YouTube. And also Times of India. A junta with nuclear weapons. When Bush and Putin discussed declassified NSA documents. Okay. Declassified NSA documents. Documents made public this week. Freedom of Information lawsuit, including verbatim transcripts and so on. Okay, so whatever. It's not important for the US. Yeah. Everyone knows Pakistan is a terrorist regime. Everyone knows that. And Putin opposes Pakistan. Maybe they want to ensure that Pakistan remains on their side and doesn't flirt with Russia or something. Maybe there must be some reason for it. Shatabhish says, same room, two guys, one still, second running, both look at Andromeda, same time. We'll see events days apart, cause special relativity between motion change participants. Because special relativity, BT motion change perception of time feels like it may feel like magic to you, but it's just physics. Special relativity is actually very simple compared to general relativity. If you just know basic calculus, you can study special relativity. I'm not sure if you even need calculus. You probably need some calculus. I mean, if you take any book, any textbook on modern physics, it's typically the first chapter. So if you know basic math, a little bit of calculus, you can actually study special relativity. There is no magic in it. It may, if you haven't studied it, then the effects will feel like magic. Time dilation, length contraction, various paradoxes like the grandfather paradox and twin paradox, and what is this Andromeda paradox? Sounds like magic. It may feel like it's a simulation thing, but it's just physics. It's nothing special, just physics. Abhirup Sarkar says, could you and Sanjay Dixit arrange a debate with Dhruv Rathi and expose him? I have no interest in debating morons. Okay, I've been on this on YouTube for a while now, several years. Have you ever seen me debate someone? What is the point of me debating some moron? It will serve as entertainment for all of you, I suppose. But what will I gain from it? What will you gain from it beyond entertainment? We all know the guy has an agenda. Dhruv Rathi. He clearly is on the payroll of whatever foreign powers. We all know it. Then if you know it, he's already exposed, right? If you know it, he is already exposed to you. I think the whole country by now knows that he is on the payroll of some foreign power. So what is the point of me going on some live telecast or something with him and exposing him? What's the point? Why should I waste my valuable time talking to that idiot? What's the point? All these debates, they have become a form of entertainment. You have these 8 p.m., 9 p.m. debates on the news. This is just a form of entertainment because these debates are all shouting matches, people shouting at each other, talking at each other. But what is the outcome of the debate? There is no outcome of the debate. I just don't get what is the point of these debate shows. I just don't get it. A debate makes sense if there is some kind of consensus that emerges as a consequence. Or maybe it ends up better informing the audience about whatever is being debated. It should be constructive. It should have some constructive outcome. A debate. Shouting at each other, abusing and insulting each other. What's the point? I'm not interested in that. I'm absolutely not interested in that. So I am not doing any debates with anybody. Absolutely not. Monish Tabrinath says, I'm 22 and I've seen and read the world's nature to a great extent. All thanks to you. You're very welcome. I can only show you some part of it, of course, but I lost happiness in the process. I can't even share these things with close ones. What to do? That's part of the process of growing up. You know, when you're a kid, when you're a child, the world is so beautiful. Why do we all remember? Why do most of us who had reasonably normal childhoods, why do most of us think of childhood as this beautiful time of our life, as the best time of our life? It's because the world was so beautiful from our perspective at the time. We had so little information, so little knowledge. We were so innocent. Innocence is the lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. So we thought everything is just flowers and butterflies and green grass. Everyone is nice, smiles, happiness, all that stuff. But as we start growing, we start seeing things that we did not see earlier. And that beautiful picture of the world slowly, gradually, over time starts crumbling. And then we feel that we have lost our innocence, we've lost our happiness, the world has changed. It's not changed. It has always been this way. But your perception has changed. Your understanding has changed. You have started seeing things you did not see before. Yeah, you will not be that happy anymore. It's just part of the process of growing up. And yeah, you will, if you are intelligent, see, the people who watch this channel are obviously higher in intelligence than the median population of the world, right? So if you're intelligent, you're gonna make connections in your mind that others won't be able to make. But then if you try to explain it to somebody, they'll say, you are crazy. You are crazy. You are a conspiracy theorist. That's what they will say. So you can't share these things with the close ones. What to do? Nothing. Nothing. What to do? You don't have to share it with others. You know it. That's good enough. And if it is something, if that knowledge is something that you can use to make your life better, either at a personal level or a professional level or whatever, then use it. Knowledge is not always useful, but if you know how to use it, it can be valuable. So find ways of using it in personal, business life, professional life, whatever. And that's what you can do with the knowledge. So if you understand geopolitics well, if you understand all the nasty things that are happening in the world behind closed doors, if you can see the connections, and if you are, for example, a business person or a trader, if you're trading various commodities, you can use that information significantly to your advantage and make profits out of it. If you can foresee what's coming, if you can read the trends and so on. So that's what you do with it, right? Don't be upset that you've lost your happiness. It's just the process of growing up. You will always be happier at the age of 5 than you are at the age of 10. You will always be happier at the age of 10 than you're at the age of 17. And you will always be happier at the age of 17 than you're at the age of 25. By the time you're 40, the world, maybe you kind of get reconciled to the fact that the world is not what it seemed by the time you're in the 40s. But that's just the process of growing up and living life. Everybody goes through this. If you still are just as happy as in your 30s or in your 20s as you were when you were 12, then probably there's something wrong with you. All right, so don't be upset, sir. Or don't be upset. Okay, M. Sachs says Modi Ji tweet on Christmas. Yeah, and Diwali. Yeah. Yes, sir. That is indeed true. I agree. Yes, sir. All right. Kiran More say, what are the Epstein files and why they publicize it? Epstein files are, what are the Epstein files? Documents related to the activities of Jeffrey Epstein, who apparently was some kind of enabler of very evil rich people who indulged in criminal activities involving underage persons, pedophilia, and God knows what kind of horrific stuff. And Epstein was perhaps the middleman along with his alleged partner, Ghislaine Maxwell. And Epstein allegedly killed himself, perhaps, possibly, who knows. And the files are, I don't know, transcripts and logs, flight logs and photographs and God knows what else related to his life and activities and so on. Why have they been publicized? Because the government has had that for a very long time. It contains the names of all the powerful people who have done very nasty, very evil stuff. And if the people know that this exists, and if you don't publicize it, then it looks like you're involved in that, the government, whoever's running the government. So that's why it was publicized, but a lot of that is redacted apparently, and not even properly. So, yeah. Ajay Sharma says, after my Baltic visit, I saw elderly begging every 100 meters. Many say the life in the USSR was better on housing, food, security, where USSR failure narratives are hoax. Look, yes and no. The USSR failed as an empire, but they were able to give their people reasonable amount of security. There were no famines. Everybody had housing, guaranteed housing. You didn't have to pay for the housing. Everybody was guaranteed a certain amount of food. You never starved. You didn't have great luxury or whatever, but you got the food on time. You never had to beg for food or whatever. Nobody begged. So those things were taken care of. So clearly that is true. After the USSR disintegrated, you had poverty, massive poverty in Russia, until Putin started fixing it. Then that process took time. But now things are way better than what you had during Yeltsin's time. My goodness, what Yeltsin oversaw. Also, that is true. But the USSR did fail as an empire. They allowed themselves to be encircled by the West. They allowed their standards to drop and degrade. They allowed corruption to permeate their life in a way that was detrimental to the empire, not like the US, which actually uses corruption to as something that strengthens it potentially. So yeah, the failure narratives are true, but what the people who lived in the USSR say, that you do not have any of this problems during the days of the USSR, that is also true. So yeah, it's both ways. Godliness says, rapidly rising Muslim. Okay, listen, I don't talk about religious issues and all that, especially when it comes to Islam. I don't talk about it. It's just a policy. So yeah, I am not discussing this. All right. Sorry about that, but it's some. See, I can't fight every fight, every war. So I don't discuss this specific matter. McLevin says, Hindus keep fighting within themselves. I have given up. No, you don't give up. You never give up. Until death, all defeat is psychological. You don't give up. You never give up. Please don't. Okay. Monish Sabrinath says, how to have a thick skin from haters in our lives. I don't know how to have a thick skin. I suppose you are either naturally born with it or you somehow develop it. I am kind of a public figure to some extent. I read the comments every week to look for questions, ask Abhijit questions. And I see a lot of comments that are not very nice. Does it affect me? It doesn't affect me at all. I think the people, a lot of people have given up being nasty in the comments because it doesn't affect me. See, when somebody is being nasty to you, they want to achieve something. They want to either demoralize you or to hurt you very badly. And if it doesn't have the effect, then they give up eventually. Yeah. So I suppose, me personally, I just have a naturally thick skin. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about anyone's opinion. I know who I am. I know what I am. What others say or think doesn't matter in the least to me. And that's something that just came with the package. I was just born this way. But How to develop a thick skin? Well, you have to convince yourself that, the opinions of others don't matter. See, you're going to live a certain number of years. We don't know how long, maybe 100 years, maybe whatever the number is. The gods have decided that we have nothing to do with that. You're going to live X number of years. See, in your life, people will come and people will go. That is the reality of life. There's only one person who will stay with you. Who's that? It's you. So who's the most important person in your life? It's you. So what should matter to you? You should matter to you, and your opinion should matter. Why should the opinions of others matter? So you have to, I suppose, logically think about it and convince yourself in whatever way is best that, let haters hate. Who cares? How do they matter? What matters is what you do with your life. Focus on that. Figure out what is important for you from your perspective and focus on that. Work on that. To hell with everybody else. That's what you should do. Godliness says, I know people wait for 3 years for basic surgery in our own government hospitals. We don't even have proper doctors in our government hospitals. But yeah, laughing on Europe and the US is more patriotic for some. Who's laughing? Every nation has problems. In India, I don't know about government hospitals, but in India, if you can spend a little bit of money, you can get most things done on demand. If you have broken, let's say, a bone somewhere, you can get an X-ray in 20 minutes. I don't think you need to wait for 3 months or 3 years for an X-ray in India. And an X-ray doesn't cost anything like what it costs in the US. See, when somebody points out what the situation is like in the UK, I'm not sure if I am laughing at that. I'm not sure I'm comparing. But if you were to compare, the situation in India is much better. Things cost way less and things get done fast. There is no question about it. It's not about being patriotic, it's about being factual, I suppose. So I'm not sure why you're upset, sir. I'm not trying to pretend to be patriotic or whatever. When there are issues in India, I'm the first to speak about those things. I'm not sure why you're upset. Okay. Pratik Vora says, is Tamil Nadu India's Japan in terms of preserving culture while also developing at a rapid pace? Shouldn't other states also learn from Tamil Nadu? I'm not very aware of the situation in Tamil Nadu. How much of our culture is being preserved in Tamil Nadu? I'm not very sure about what the actual situation is. So I'm not sure I'll be able to answer this question. Swastik Mahesh says, if given a choice, which problem of India would you focus on solving first? Secondly, how long can PM Modi stay in power and who can be a successor? If given a choice, which problem of India would I focus on solving first? The education system. People just don't understand how important this is. Yeah, I would focus on the education system first and foremost. I would fix that. It'll take at least 20 years if I start today. But I know what is to be done. So yeah, if given a choice, I would fix the education system. Secondly, how long can PM Modi stay in power and who can be a successor? As long as he's healthy and strong and mentally fine, he can stay in power, I suppose. Who can be a successor? I suppose there are multiple candidates or candidates who could be picked from. Who could it be? Well, time will tell, I suppose. Narendra Reddy says, why are people in India so discouraging? People in India have become very negative over the past 1,000 years. Yeah, they've developed this crab mentality. That if somebody tries to, if somebody is striving to do better in life, they'll try and pull the person down. I'm not sure all Indians are like this. Many Indians are very positive, but overall, over the past 1,000 years, Indians have become pretty negative and pessimistic. So it is something we need to be aware of, and we need to consciously try and change this attitude, all of us. Sahaj Dung says, what would it realistically take for the Indian government to replace rote learning and illogical homework with an education system built around creativity, critical thinking, and real world skills? So, what would it take? It has to be deployed in phases. The reforms should start at the ground level, which is nursery. Start the reforms at the nursery level, first year. Second year, take that to junior KG. Third year, take it to senior KG. Fourth year, take it to the first standard. It will take 20-25 years to implement the reforms. And what reforms to be implemented? Look, that will take me 2 hours to explain, but I'll tell you where you can find what I have recommended in very great detail. Let me give you very quickly what it is. So what we shall do is we shall go to my channel. Okay. If you go to my channel, there is the live tab. On that, you go to the oldest ones. Then you go down. And if you go to episodes 28, 30, and 31 of Ask Abhijit, I have listed down all the problems and given all the solutions. Episode 28, 30, and 31 of Ask Abhijit. So if you want the answers, check these episodes out. All right? Okay. All right. Next question. Rajat says, putting black boxes and finding consciousness. Upanishad says that the error you are making, you put black boxes in your own consciousness and thinking where it is. Upanishad is asking, when did you leave your consciousness? Okay, sir. I think you did not. All right. Suga says, which is the best country for Indian passport bros? Google it, as don't want to marry in India an Indian girl because then Indian laws will applicable, which not only are biased towards women but completely against men. I don't know which is the best country for Indian passport bros. I think that is something you will have to do your own due diligence and your own research. Yeah. I can't make recommendations that you should follow. This is, if you want to go and settle in some other country and marry a girl from that country because you're scared of whatever, then you have to do your own research and your own due diligence. If I recommend something and something bad happens to you, you're gonna come and blame me then. So please do your own research, take your time, do your own due diligence, figure it out for yourself, which is the best country from your perspective, and where you will find the best girl of your dreams. All right, all the best, sir Suga. All the best. Om Naik says, is there any possibility for Europe and Japan getting free from the stranglehold of the US in the upcoming times, or is it already game over for them? Most likely game over for them. I don't see any possibility of Europe or Japan getting free from the stranglehold. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Dhanush says, what can and can't be said about the resurrection of Jesus based on the evidence? Asking because many in the West have claimed there is evidence for this. I don't know of any such evidence. I don't believe in magic. That's only my bias. Of course, I may be completely wrong, and maybe magic is all over the place. Then maybe these things happen, but I am not aware of any evidence of whatever this is. Right? That's all I can say. I am no expert in this religion. The only time I read something about this religion is when I was probably 8 years old. One day, stuck in a hotel room in a city in Europe. And since I was stuck in a hotel room and didn't feel like watching TV, I opened a drawer and found a pocket Bible. And I read the whole damn thing. That's the only time I researched this religion in any detail. And that was a long time ago, and it did not have the effect it was supposed to have, which was to convert me to that religion. It didn't work. So it did say something about resurrection and so on, but I have not found any evidence personally. Maybe you need to have faith to see the evidence. Maybe I don't have the faith. Maybe I'm faithless. Right, okay. Ganapati says, when Krishna in the Gita says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, the Bharata in his context is India. Every translation says Bharat is Arjun. Attempt to separate Hinduism and India. Yeah, I don't know. I personally am not sure which is the correct interpretation. Even I used to believe that when he says Bharata, it means India, but maybe he says Bharata, not Bharata. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's something I will have to look into, and then only I can answer it. Right now, I've not looked into it. Even I am not sure which is the correct interpretation. So is this an attempt to separate Hinduism and India? I am not sure about that too. First of all, I'll have to look into the translation and understand and figure out which is the correct interpretation, and then I can answer the question. At this point, I can't. Rajat says, in case you are interested, can I send you Advaita Vedanta lecture? You will yourself find why it gives the best definition. Where can I send? No. I don't have the time to read to watch lectures. See, there's a reason why I don't watch podcasts. I don't watch long YouTube videos. I hardly ever watch movies. I don't have the time. I have so much work to do. I have these projects I'm working on. I don't have time. I wish I was in that position where I could say, please send me the lecture. I'll watch it. I'll watch it a couple of times. I'll understand. I don't have the time. When I was a teenager, I had that sort of time. When I was a teenager, I had that sort of time. Today, I don't. So yeah, please don't send it to me. I know what Advaita Vedanta is. I know where to find the lectures on Advaita Vedanta. I know where to find the playlists. Swami Sarva Priyananda, I suppose, or somebody else. I can find all the information if I need to. I am very good at digging out the most obscure of information, right? But I don't have the time to look into this right now. And I know from what perspective I want to study the mystery of consciousness. Maybe I have some understanding of my own. Perhaps you should consider the possibility that I may have some understanding that I have acquired over my lengthy years on the planet. Maybe I'm not a beginner, perhaps. Perhaps you should consider the possibility that maybe I'm not a beginner in this matter. All right. But I really appreciate your offer of sending this lecture. I simply don't have the time. So thank you so much. It's very kind of you to want to do this. But I won't be able to watch it at this time. When the time comes for me to watch this, I'll know exactly where to find this stuff. So thank you so much, Rajat. Appreciate it. Sahaj says, any plans for a studio tour? Any plans for a studio tour? What's the point of a studio tour? You want to see my studio? It's a mess. This part I show, it's nice. The rest is mess. It's a working guy studio. It's high entropy. The entropy is high. Books, cables, stuff, equipment. I don't think you will gain any value from that. Okay, it's high entropy. What languages do I speak? I speak 4 languages. Among the foreign languages, it's English and French. Yeah, that's about it. All right. Sagar says, how to manage time effectively for maximum productivity. Love you, sir. Old 2020 subscriber. 2020 subscriber. So good to have you, sir. Thank you so much. One of my first subscribers. Thank you so much for being a long-time subscriber. Yeah. This channel is what it is only because of all of you, especially my earliest subscribers are the greatest ones. Thank you so much. Yeah. How to manage time effectively. See, there are some principles you have to be clear about. First of all, being busy is not being productive. Secondly, having 20 tasks to do in one day is stupidity. You should have maybe 2 or 3 tasks to do in one day. As much as possible, all the donkey work, delegate to somebody else. Okay? You should not have more than three big tasks in a day. And just because you're busy, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, it doesn't mean you're being productive. You're just being busy. But maybe it's not moving you forward in whatever you want to achieve in life. So how to manage time effectively? First of all, know your goals. Know your big goals, 10-year goal. Know your 1-year goal. Know your 3-month goal, quarterly goal. And know your goal for this week. Maybe it will take only 2 or 3 big tasks that will achieve your goal for this week. Ignore everything else. Ignore everything else ruthlessly. And manage your energy. Sleep 8 hours, eat clean food, exercise regularly. Okay. And don't overwork. Working 12 hours a day is madness. Don't work more than 8 or 10 hours a day. Sleep well and keep your mind off things, that sort of thing. It's very important to manage your energy. Energy is very important. If you are low energy, what will you get? What will you achieve in life? You have to be high energy. You need to have that fortitude within you. So that's what you do. But the most important thing is don't have too many things to do on your plate in one day. Always ruthlessly cut everything out. Just focus on the two or three main things and ignore everything else. Say no to everything else. There'll be all kinds of demands on your time and attention. Ignore those and cut those out. So if you're ruthless, if you prioritize what is to be prioritized, if you manage your energy well, if you know exactly what your long term goals are, you'll be able to manage time effectively. Everybody has the same time amount of time in life, 24 hours. So yeah, it depends on what you're trying to achieve and so on. So these are the basic principles for time management. James, my good old friend James is here. Kabul is so beautiful. Why doesn't the fourth largest economy capture it? We being the 55th or even worse in 1700s could. Do we need to capture Kabul at this point in time? We don't need to. We have friends in Kabul. Why do we need to capture Kabul? Look, I can visit Kabul tomorrow morning if I want to. And I'll tell you what, I will get a pretty warm welcome in Kabul if I go there tomorrow morning or next week. I can assure you of that. We have friends in Kabul. And yeah, so we don't need to capture Kabul. Kabul is beautiful. Ancient Kapisa, right? Yeah. So we see, if the fourth largest economy, soon to be the third largest economy, eventually to be the largest economy, if we want it, we don't need to capture it. See, the US, it has access to the entire world without capturing the entire world. That's the right way to do things. If an American citizen wants to travel to, let's say, Romania tomorrow morning, do they need a visa? They don't. If they want to set up a business in Romania, do you think they have to face hurdles, obstacles? No, they don't. Let's say they want to go to Madagascar, no visa required, I suppose. If they want to go to Rwanda for whatever reason. So that's what you need to have. You need to be in a situation where you don't have to capture a nation, but the doors of the nation will be open to you. So that's what India needs to achieve. And Kabul is indeed beautiful. And I assure you that Indians have a warm welcome in Kabul. Yeah. So we are on the right track. King Ritwik says, you remember me, class 10 student gave debate on Mr. Gandhi. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you did a debate on Mr. Gandhi based on my videos. Then your principal called your parents, but your parents are as intelligent as me. Okay. Both are doctors. Your mom is a neurosurgeon. Your mom explained to the principal that she herself taught me all these, and I'm absolutely correct. Well, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you, sir. Then she said to principal not to disturb her on these small matters, as she has patients to see in OT and ICU. Principal sir then apologized. You, sir, are a genius. My teachers in school depend on my parents as they see them for free, and they have also given them free medicines. I know teachers can't harm me. Well. That's why I got the courage to speak about it in school, because I knew nothing what will happen to me. Do you think this type of influence matters? Also, my mom has subscribed only 2 channels for me. It's me and Nitish Rajput. She also watches your channel sometimes. I stay away from Mr. Rathi type. Well, first of all, I salute your mom and your parents. Please give my regards to you and my respect to your mother. That's a great mom you have. Does this type of influence matter? Certainly. There is no harm in having influence. If you have influence, if you have parents who are influential, why should you be unhappy about that? Whatever advantages the gods have given you in life, make the best use of that. Your mom is clearly a most intelligent lady, and yeah, so I'm so glad that things turned out really well for you. And looks like your principal, teachers are not gonna stand in your way anymore, or do anything to hurt you or harm you. So great job. And you did this, but possibly not knowing what could happen. But yeah, it all turned out very well. So congratulations. Things turned out very well. I truly commend the actions of your mom. And yeah, keep having a positive attitude, keep learning, keep raising your standards. And yeah, you are showing some leadership qualities, some independent thinking. So keep doing that, stay on that track, and do well, sir. And I look forward to hearing more from you in the future. All right, sir. All the best. Do well. Do well. Awesome. Okay, Ankita Kachap ji, namaste. Good evening. Recently, 19-year-old Devavrat Mahesh Rekhe flawlessly recited 2000 complex Vedic mantras in even complex Dandakrama pattern. Why is this being referred to as one of the greatest memory feats in India? I'm not aware of the details. I obviously saw the news. Prime Minister Modi also tweeted about this, apparently, if I remember correctly. Or what exactly is this feat? What is the Dandakrama pattern? I am not aware of that. I've not looked into it. But a Vedic mantra is typically one shloka or one mantra. And if you have memorized 2000 of those, well, that is an incredible achievement. So let's quickly take a look at what the news has to say about what news we have. Dev Vrat Mahesh Rekhe. So, a 19-year-old Vedic prodigy from Maharashtra who recently achieved fame for completing the extremely difficult Dandakrama Parayanam of the Shukla Yajurveda in Kashi over 50 uninterrupted days in late 2025. A feat last accomplished centuries ago, showcasing incredible memory, discipline, dedication. He recited nearly 2000 mantras using complex forward-backward patterns, earning him accolades and recognition from figures like Prime Minister Modi. So the method is recited 2000 mantras roughly in intricate, complex patterns, forward, backward, etc., daily for 50 days. Rare feat, first in 200 years, demonstrating exceptional Vedic mastery. The Dandakrama involves reciting mantras in highly complex sequences requiring extreme focus, incredible memory, breath control, and synchronization, not just rote memorization. It's a tradition preserved by dedicated scholars, and Rekhe's accomplishment revived this ancient practice. Okay, clearly a most difficult feat, unprecedented in over 2 centuries. So yeah, it's not just rote memorization. It requires so much more than rote memorization. So clearly, a person of the utmost intelligence and tremendous willpower, dedication, so much more. So yeah, see, India was always the land of scholars and people who did incredible intellectual feats. And Devavrat Mahesh Rekhe clearly is carrying that torch forward, the flame of that ancient tradition forward. So I'm glad that he's doing that, and hopefully he will inspire more people to continue our traditions and keep the traditions alive and achieve some of these great, incredible feats. Right? So yeah, great accomplishment, and he's a young person, just 19 years old. So I wonder what else he will accomplish in life. I look forward to see what other great feats he accomplishes. I'm sure he's going to do um, much more in life, and things which are even greater than what he has done thus far. UMXG lol haha says VSVS isn't here today, and the quality of the questions have gone down. I contribute to it as well. Okay, VSVS we haven't seen today. Well, we miss you, VSVS, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Godliness says, for my last question on government hospitals, I was not poking you or being upset. Okay. It was just a general statement. I hope we can differ on some topics. Of course, we can differ on some topics. Of course, we can. So you were not poking or being upset. You were making a general commentary instead. Yeah, there are people in India who have that attitude of trying to always paint India as better than the West and laughing at the West and all. So yeah, makes sense based on that perspective, what you were saying. And of course, we can differ. You don't have to agree with me on everything. Okay? If you agree with me on everything, maybe there's something wrong with you. You should be skeptical. You should have different perspectives, different viewpoints. If I say something, you should analyze it from different perspectives. If you perhaps disagree with it, then you should try and find the deficiencies and flaws that may or may not exist in what I am presenting, and maybe try and improve upon what I'm saying. And maybe then you can put that forth. So that's how you have a constructive discussion, constructive debate. That's how you can do it without having a debate too. If a person is saying something and you have some doubts about it, you should do your own research, due diligence, and so on. So it's perfectly good. It's actually desirable to have differences, but in a constructive manner. So, all right. Thank you for clarifying that. And I wasn't really upset. It's all par for the course. All right. Thank you. Suga says, if I may ask, what's your qualification? What qualification? What? My degrees. How I went through the education system and I acquired some degrees a long time ago. How does it matter? If, let's say, I'm illiterate, I did not even do the 10th standard, whatever, does it matter? How do you care what somebody's qualification is? It doesn't matter what my qualification is. I don't care what degree I have or what degree you have. I only care about the quality of your arguments, the quality of the information, the quality of the discussion that I can have with you. So, qualifications don't matter. Qualifications may matter when you are in the initial phase of your adulthood, when the job market demands qualifications. When you're 30s, 40s, and when you, at the end of the day, your qualifications don't matter. What you accomplish in your life matters. Nobody cares eventually what marks you got or what degree you have. The only thing is that matters is what have you contributed to society. Please look at life in that way and you will be happier that way. MS Gaming says, why free pronunciation sounds like Hindi, his of French? French pronunciation, does it sound like Hindi? Absolutely not. No. The French pronunciation is extremely different from Hindi. Tremendously different from Hindi. Would you like to see how it sounds? Okay. French text. Whatever. French text. Okay. One second. Okay. Tribune de Genève. Okay, let's open a Swiss newspaper. Okay. Okay, j'accepte. Okay, let's read this one. Okay, then tell me if it sounds like Hindi. Le réveil de la Chine, fermez s'il vous plaît. Le réveil de la Chine, tournant majeur du siècle. En l'espace de 25 ans, la Chine est passée du statut d'atelier docile du monde à celui de puissance économique et géopolitique incontournable. Récit de la naissance d'un géant qui a changé la face du monde, par Théophile Simon, publié aujourd'hui à 16h13. Je me souviens de l'an 2000, la Chine débordait d'énergie positive. L'avenir semblait radieux. La nouvelle génération vivait mieux que celle de ses parents. En tant que les Chinois ne se mêlaient de la politique, ils bénéficiaient d'une relative liberté d'expression. Se souvient Simona Rano, directrice de recherche sur les relations entre Taïwan et la Chine à l'université à Zurich. À l'université de Zurich. So tell me, does that sound like Hindi? That's what French sounds like. Does it sound like Hindi? It doesn't sound like Hindi. Okay. UMX once again says, is learning a new language worth it or not? Well, you need to have a reason for learning a new language. Maybe you want to travel the world, and maybe you want to learn, or maybe you want to travel to, let's say, Italy. And maybe you want to spend 6 months in Italy. In that case, it makes sense to learn basic Italian. Maybe you want to study in Germany. Then it makes sense to study German. Maybe you love French culture. Then it makes sense to learn French. So that is an actual reason for learning a language. But sometimes it makes sense to learn a language just to benefit from the neuroplasticity it generates in your brain. So neuroplasticity, what is the definition of neuroplasticity? The creation of new neural pathways, right, in the brain. So there are various ways of achieving neuroplasticity. One way of doing that is to learn how to write with your non-dominant hand. Let's say most people are right-handed. Try and spend 5 minutes every day writing with your left hand. It will be very awkward and weird, but after a couple of weeks, you'll be pretty good at it. Or let's say you like playing cricket. Learn how to bat with your non-dominant hand. Learn how to bowl with your non-dominant hand. That will create neuroplasticity. Similar benefits will be achieved by learning a new language. So it keeps your brain more agile. It probably increases your intelligence and it gives you different perspectives. Because languages, they have certain patterns that they etch in your brain, and different languages look at the world in different ways. So yeah, it's definitely worth it if you can find the time to do that. Riser says, why committee of 300 PDF is on CIA? It's 300 control the world. I don't know about the committee of 300. I've kind of vaguely heard about it, but I don't know exactly what it is. I have not read it. I've not studied it. So I can't answer the question. I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is. I could open the PDF now if it's available on Google. I'm sure it is, and then read it, but that will waste your time. So maybe I'll read it when I can find some time, and maybe you can revisit the question in the future. Rajat says, why does some of the basic concepts of quantum mechanics and relativity not taught in schools to inculcate curiosity and interest in students? I don't know. Look, quantum mechanics, it cannot be taught at the school level. I mean, yeah, you can teach some of the mysterious phenomena associated with quantum mechanics to generate curiosity. Clearly, the grandfather paradox, the twin paradox, that's special relativity. Quantum mechanics, the double slit experiment, that is fascinating. Explain basic superposition and so on, basic entanglement, that is fascinating. That will really generate a lot of interest among the students. You can do that without actually getting into the math, which students may not have mastered clearly at the in 6th, 7th standard or whatever. It should be done. Actually, it should be done. It will expose way more students to the mysteries and the beauty of science, of physics, of quantum mechanics, relativity. And it may draw more people into the fields that we need people to go into. It should be done, but that happens only when you have teachers who are genuinely passionate about what they're teaching. If a teacher is genuinely passionate about physics, quantum mechanics, relativity, then that teacher will find a way to evoke that curiosity and fascination among their students, if they genuinely love the subject and they genuinely care about the students. But most teachers in India don't care about the subject. They don't care about the damn students. And the education system is run by bureaucrats and controlled by politicians. What do you expect? So that's one of the problems that we have in India. UMXG Lolha says, I agree with everything you say. Anything wrong with me? Nothing wrong with you. Nothing as such wrong with you. But try and think of ways where I may be wrong, or maybe somebody else is wrong. Always try and explore any issue from multiple angles. Right? Let me give you my own example. Look, until 2015, 2016, I used to believe in the Aryan invasion theory. I was a believer in that. And when people used to tell me on Twitter, please look into this, it's wrong, I used to get annoyed with them. Why do you have to claim that everything came from India? That was my approach. That was my position at the time. Then one day I asked myself, let's look into this. What if I am wrong? And I looked into it. I spent several months looking into it. And I discovered that what I believed was completely wrong. Right? So you should always have that attitude, approach, whatever you want to call it. Always be willing to look at things from different perspectives. And if you discover that what you believe was wrong, then you should be willing to change your mind based on the new information that you've got. Right? That happens when you do deep dives into topics, subjects, domains, whatever. So, yeah. Okay, VS is here. स्वागत नहीं करोगे हमारा to the viewers. Namaste ji. You called, I came, was doing a dopamine detox, therefore was abstaining for supers. It's good to see you, sir. You don't have to do supers. You have done so many supers for so many other people. You've been so kind to my viewers and taken their questions and put them on the super chat. So thank you so much. It's always good to have you. And please continue your dopamine detox. You don't have to always be here. So anyway, it's good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Please carry on, sir. And thank you once again for all the memberships you have purchased for other people and so on. Thank you so much. You're so incredibly kind. It's so nice to have a viewer such as you on the channel. Thank you so much. Suga says, ask you cause you really have a knowledge of most things, from physics to history, from Vedas to chemistry. How do you gather all of that? How do I gather all of that? By reading. Reading is a lost art today, right? Today, I'm not sure how people gain knowledge today. Look, you can't gain knowledge from watching TV. You can't gain deep knowledge from audiobooks. I'm not sure about audiobooks. Audiobooks have never worked for me. Podcasts can give you an entry level kind of information about a topic. See, what I'm doing, Ask Abhijit, the best I can expect is that it will spark some kind of curiosity or passion about some subject. Let's say I answered 50 questions today. Maybe 3 of those you found fascinating and you went and did some deep research. That's the best I can expect. I can't actually teach you the subjects over here, right? I can simply share my perspectives and understanding and whatever knowledge I have, with the hope that it will spark some curiosity in you, some of the questions, and then you will go and do your own deeper research into that. So how have I gathered knowledge about various things? By reading in great detail, reading wide and reading deep. So, for example, quantum mechanics. I must have studied more than 10 textbooks on quantum mechanics at various levels. You start from Griffiths, that's the entry level book, right? No, even before that you have Iceberg and Resnick. That's the book on modern physics or something. Atomic, yeah, whichever it was. It's been a long time. And then you progress. So you have to do really deep dives into things, and also you have to read wide. So wide and deep, and that takes time. It doesn't happen over a period of 2 months. That takes time, long time. I've been reading all my life. I read my first novel when I was 7 years old. It took me 7 days. So I have been a voracious reader. Fiction, non-fiction, physics, history, whatever. Everything that I found interesting, I read. I still do. So that's how I do it. It takes a lot of work. Yeah. It's only fun if you find it to be fun. I find it to be fun. Achintya Anand says, what's your viewpoint on the development of railguns? The Japanese have deployed it on JS Asuka for sea trials in October 2025, whereas the US government has abandoned it. Has the US really abandoned railguns? So railguns are essentially rods that are propelled by electromagnetic forces. Okay. And these rods can be accelerated to incredible speeds, like way beyond the speed of sound, maybe Mach 2, Mach 3, whatever. What's the average speed of a railgun? Yeah, let's find out. Railgun average railgun speed. Okay, Mach 6 to 10. Yeah. Okay. So military projectile mass, heavy projectile, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. And how do railguns operate? Railgun basics. Electromagnet. Yeah, okay, fine. So that's what I said. Yeah, so I was right. Yeah. So I think it's a promising technology. Obviously, see how railguns are operated. You need a long container kind of thing through which you accelerate the projectile. So, and you need a lot of energy. So you won't have handgun-sized railguns anytime soon. And if the Japanese have been able to miniaturize it and deploy it on a ship, it means they've really not taken the technology to the next level. But it's still an experimental technology. Well, when I was a kid, lasers were an experimental technology. They used to be shown in James Bond movies, right? Lasers, red lasers slicing through things. But today, lasers can be used to take out missiles and aircraft. So things have developed. Similarly, railgun technology also will develop over time. I'm not sure if the Americans have abandoned it. If they have claimed that they've abandoned it, maybe they are not being entirely transparent about things. Okay. So I think it's a promising technology. It can be devastating. And yeah, but the only problem is that you need a tremendous amount of energy and a long acceleration zone. Chirag Srinath says, can explain about the Karkota Empire related to the Muktapida campaign across Indian subcontinent. He has been excluded from our history. The Karkota Empire, Lalitaditya Muktapida. He was the third king or something of the Karkota Empire, 7th, 8th, 9th centuries AD, probably 7th century AD. After the Gupta Empire declined and ended, 7th, or let's fact check that. And see, Lalitaditya Muktapida, he was obviously he was based in Kashmir. His capital was Srinagar. And he is said to have conquered various parts of Central Asia and also large parts of the Indian subcontinent. And he has been definitely excluded from our history. So let's go to Google and is it 7th or 8th century? Lalitaditya Muktapida, former Maharaja of Kashmir. Yeah, 8th century. That's right. Karkota monarch. And Wikipedia will say that, you know what, he didn't achieve much. Most powerful king of his dynasty and so on. Yeah, conquest across India and Central Asia. Kalhan says that. And Kalhan is a pretty good source, actually. So, yeah, I don't recall the exact chronology of his empire and his reign. He was definitely the most powerful king of the dynasty. And yeah, right now I don't recall the specific details of his career. I do recall that he is said to have conquered large parts of Central Asia, definitely large parts of the subcontinent. And he has been totally excluded from our history textbooks. Yeah. Kalhan writes about him. Kalhan is the great Kashmiri chronicler, the author of the Raj Tarangini. Yeah, and after Lalitaditya Muktapida died, his empire collapsed pretty rapidly. He was the only great ruler of the dynasty. That's what I can tell you right now. I have in the past spoken about this, but right now, this is what I can remember. So that's what I will be able to tell you at this point in time. Okay, MS Gaming says, I waste my time watching porn. How to control it? I don't know, sir. It's not an issue that I have faced, so I don't know. I've not thought about this, so I don't know how to control it. I suppose you stop doing what you want to. I suppose you stop doing it. Is it that addictive? I really don't know. If you want to break an addiction, the best way to do it is to replace that addiction with something positive that you also enjoy, that will not waste your time. For example, lifting weights. Or I don't know. Find something that you enjoy doing, which will have a positive effect on your life and not waste your time. Excuse me. That's what I would recommend. This is not a topic that I've thought about, so I am kind of stumped when you ask me this question. But you know what? Yeah, I suppose that's what you could do. So all the best, sir. Please stop doing stuff that is wasting your time and not good for you. All the best. Do well. Get rid of the addiction. All right, sir. All the best. Um, uh, Achintya Anand says Adi Achintya G said government is bringing a new bill to target illegal conversions relate act, and one's case has that whole life is gone harsher than Yuapa. Okay, I'm not aware of this, but okay, I'm not aware of this. UMXG lol says hate reading books, becomes very boring. Gain knowledge through scrolling in your insightful videos. Please help. I'll give you a solution. Don't read boring books. Okay, let's say you find books boring. Find the most exciting fiction book. Let's say, for example, I don't know you personally, but let's say hypothetically you like spy thrillers. Okay? Or maybe you like action movies. Then find the highest rated spy thriller book that is available and read it. I promise you that it will be a fast read, you will enjoy it. Or maybe you are interested in action movies. So find the best action book, novel. Make sure it's not a very thick novel. Make it slim. Find a slim one and read it. The more you read, the faster you'll get at reading, and the more you'll be able to enjoy it. In my opinion, the best way to acquire knowledge is by reading. Okay, reading is the best. Scrolling will not give you knowledge, my friend. It will only give you very basic, very superficial knowledge and understanding. My videos are obviously better than scrolling, no question. But please take my advice. Even better than, for example, my videos is reading books. So you can get some information from what I am saying. I answer so many questions. Obviously, I'm not going into great detail. But if you find something interesting, find the right book. Even read 5 pages based on that specific topic, and you will gain more knowledge. Right? So read interesting books. Initially, don't read more than 10 minutes. That works. Yeah, that way you will not be bored. And then over time, you can develop your tolerance and your stamina. All right. Debojit Das says best beginner book for history buffs. No, when you say history, which history are you talking about? Are you talking about the history of the world, history of India, history of dinosaurs, history of butterflies? Which history? There's millions of history books. Are you interested in Indian history, Greek history, Roman history, Mongol history, Chinese history? Which history? History of the First World War, Second World War, natural history, history of what? I don't know. I'm very bad at doing book recommendations because I've read so many books I can't remember any of them. If I give you a recommendation, you won't be able to read it. I will say read the story of civilization by Will Durant. Okay. The story of civilization. Well, there you have it. This is the greatest set of books on history that I have read. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the greatest, but it had the most impact on me when I was a kid. I read these books when I was a kid. Most of these. Yeah. The story of civilization by Will Durant and Ariel Durant. If you are a history buff, you read these books, you will gain more information and knowledge than any other series of books can give you. But these are not exactly beginner books, even though I may have read it when I was a kid. These are not exactly books for beginners. But if you can persevere through the books, they will give you so much incredibly fascinating information about history. So maybe that's perhaps something you could look into. Aman Tiwari says, what's your views on Tom Clancy books? Have I read Tom Clancy books? Now let me just quickly see Tom Clancy books. Tom Clancy books. I've read so much stuff. Hunt for Red October I've read, of course. Clear and Present Danger, Bear and Dragon, Executive Order, Command Authority. SSN, Choke Point. I think the only one I've read is The Hunt for Red October, which is a fascinating, outstanding, brilliant book. The more recent ones, I'm pretty sure I haven't read. Without Remorse, Into the Storm, Locked On, Against All. Yeah, I think The Hunt of Red October I have read, and that's an outstanding book. And I think they've made an outstanding movie based on that book. Sean Connery, right? Yeah, so he's one of the great authors, writers of spy thrillers, like Alistair MacLean. So I'm sure his books are pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Achintya Anand says Lalitaditya Muktapida died while guiding his army out of a snow blizzard in Uttarakuru. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that information. I will look into that. And that brings me to the end of today's live stream. Oh, we have crossed 3 hours. We have crossed the 3 hours. All right. So let me bring an end to today's live stream with this question that I just answered. Thank you very much, everybody, for the questions. I hope this was fun, interesting. Maybe, hopefully, it gave you some good information. And I look forward to seeing you in the live streams next week. Please always keep learning, keep asking questions, keep raising your standards, keep watching these live streams and interacting with me. And I will see you in next week's live streams. And this channel will keep on putting out clips of what we are discussing here, as always. So thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all very soon in the future live streams. And have a good night, good day, good weekend. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.